I woke up and found a dirty, messy-haired girl crying on my chest. I jumped up and knocked her off. This wasn't my body, and these weren't my clothes. Then a sharp pain hit my head, and memories flooded in. I used to be a special forces soldier in the modern world. I died surrounded by thousands of enemies. Now I'm in the body of a guy also named Tangin, the former young master of the Yangon Marquis household in a place called Great Liang. This guy had it good once. Parents who loved him, 3 beautiful older sisters who spoiled him, and an engagement to the prettiest girl in the capital. But 6 months ago, his father came back from a military campaign and brought home another boy, claimed that kid was his real son. Said the original Tang and was just a baby swapped by mistake 18 years ago. Overnight, this poor bastard lost everything. His title, his family's love, gone. Worse, the new, real son, Qin Rue, was a total fake nice guy. He poisoned himself and framed the original Tang for it. The whole family believed it. The father kicked him out so hard he coughed blood. The eldest sister slapped his face swollen. The second sister made him kneel in a rainstorm. The third sister smashed his head into the ground to apologize. Only Qin Rue defended him, acting all kind and forgiving, which just made the family love Qin Rue more and hate Tang more. Classic manipulation. They threw him out and said he could come back only if he crawled back on his knees to apologize. He refused. He'd rather beg on the streets than admit to something he didn't do. He starved to death in an abandoned temple. That's when I took over. The crying girl is Su Roer, the original Tang, and saved her from a brothel, and she's been loyal to him ever since. She showed me a half-eaten bun covered in dirt and footprints. She'd fought other beggars just to get it. Turns out, Qin Rue had ordered people to make sure nobody gave us food, and even sent beggars to bully and watch us. I made up my mind right then. I'm not the weak, soft original. I'm a college graduate and a top soldier. I can rise to the top in this world, whether through business or politics. The Qin family thinks I'll come crawling back. I'll make them beg me to return, and I still won't go. Roeder mentioned she'd snuck back to the mansion through a dog hole last night to ask the eldest sister for help, because the original Tang was burning with fever. But the sister never came. He died waiting for her, full of bitterness and heartbreak. That sealed it for me. I'm done with all of them. No forgiveness, no reunion. I told Roeder to throw away the dirty bond. I was going to make money and get us real food. She looked terrified, probably thinking I'd lost my mind. We walked around and found a fancy restaurant called Drunk Moon Tower holding a grand opening. They were offering big rewards for anyone who could write a great poem or essay. I remembered from the original's memories that this place had backing from the Crown Prince, and that Qin Rue's father had secretly arranged for a scholar to write something so Qin Rue could impress the prince. No way I was letting that happen. I've got thousands of years of classic poetry from my old world to borrow from. I marched straight toward the restaurant. Roeder grabbed my waist and tried to drag me back, begging me not to go in. She was sure we'd get beaten to death. I told her to knock out the 2 guards at the door while I walked inside. She did it without hesitation. I strolled in and announced at the top of my lungs, "Beggar Clan Chief Xiao Feng, here for the banquet. Where's the owner to welcome me?" The whole place went dead silent. Everyone stared at this beggar kid strutting in like he owned the place. Then I looked up at the main seat and froze. Sitting there was a stunning woman in a red dress, mid-20s, curves that were absolutely unreal. I couldn't help but stare at the woman in the red dress. I've seen plenty of beauties in my past life, but she was the first one to make my heart skip a beat. I put on a smile, clasped my hands, and introduced myself as Xiao Feng, chief of the beggar clan, congratulating her on the grand opening. The woman's name was Shun Hongxiu. She lounged in her chair, looking relaxed and amused. She'd thought someone sent me to cause trouble, but then she heard my stomach growling and realized I was just a hungry kid trying to score free food. She played along and asked where my gift was. Meanwhile, she quietly signaled her guards to release Roeder, who they'd grabbed after she knocked them down earlier. I pointed to my head and told her my gift was a poem, but she'd have to pay for it. The whole room erupted. Dozens of scholars and literary big shots had already failed to write what the restaurant wanted, and here I was, a beggar, claiming I could do it. They were furious. Then some guy named Lin Feng threw a handful of silver coins right at Roer's face and chest, left red marks on her skin. That pissed me off instantly. I told him calmly to pick up his money, apologize to my girl, and we could still be friendly. He laughed and said the coins were charity for lowly things, like us, and told us to get lost. Fine. He wanted to play it that way. I looked around the room, raised my hand, and announced, I'm not targeting anyone in particular. I'm saying that except for the lady in red, every single one of you is garbage when it comes to poetry. Come fight me if you disagree. The place went dead silent, then exploded with rage. These guys saw themselves as elite scholars, and a beggar just called them all trash to their faces. Shin Hongxiu's eyes lit up. She was clearly entertained. She warned me that the people here were famous literary figures and top candidates for the imperial exams. I shrugged and said I didn't care. If they came one by one, I'd beat them one by one. If they came as a group, I'd beat the whole group. Then I turned it around on them. I pointed out to Shin Hongxiu that these guests were acting wild in her restaurant, disrespecting her establishment. That made the scholars nervous. Everyone knew the Drunk Moon Tower had the crown prince behind it. Disrespecting the restaurant meant disrespecting the prince. Lin Feng got angry and set up a bet. If I could write a poem so brilliant it put everyone to shame, each person would give me 10 silver taels on top of the restaurant's 500 tael reward. But if I failed, I'd have to kneel and kowtow 100 times, admitting I was the real trash. I stared at him. 10 taels, and he thought he was being generous? I agreed, but changed the stakes. I told them to keep their money. I only wanted the restaurant's reward. But if they lost, every single one of them had to kneel and apologize to Rower. She's my person. Nobody gets to bully her but me. The whole room burst out laughing. Sure, I was about to humiliate myself. Rower went pale. She knew the old me better than anyone. The original Tang, and fell asleep the moment he touched a book. Poetry? Not a chance. Shin Hongxiu watched me with curious eyes, rubbing her fingertips together, waiting to see what I had. I raised a finger to my lips, told everyone to shut up, and announced, Poetry is child's play. Today, I'm giving you a masterpiece for the ages. It's called The Preface to The Drunk Moon Tower. Everyone stared at me, waiting for me to embarrass myself. I started reciting. I'd adapted the famous Preface to the Pavilion of Prince Tong from my old world, changing the place names and details to fit this world. The opening lines were decent, but nothing special, and the crowd's mocking grins got wider. Then I hit the good parts. Treasures of nature, the dragon's light shooting toward the stars. The smirks froze on their faces. Even Shin Hongxiu sat up straight in her chair, eyes wide. Rower stared at me with her mouth open. She couldn't understand most of it, but she could read the room. Everyone was stunned. Then I dropped the big one. The evening glow and the lone wild duck fly together. The autumn waters merge with the endless sky as one. Dead silence. Every single person in that hall looked out the window. Sure enough, birds were gliding through the sunset, and the river shimmered under the sky, blending into one color. The line matched the scene perfectly. Lin Feng's wine cup slipped out of his hand and hit the floor. Shin Hongxiu jumped to her feet, fists clenched, breathing hard with excitement. I kept going, hitting them with line after line, growing old but staying strong, never abandoning ambition. Poor but unyielding, never letting go of lofty goals. Following Wang Bo's trick from my old world, I deliberately left out one word from the final line. Beyond the railing, the great river flows on. When I finished, the silence was deafening. Shin Hongxiu walked over clapping, calling it the greatest gift she'd received. She bowed to thank me, and I had to look away quickly because, well, physics was doing things I wasn't prepared for. I kept a straight face and told her she was welcome, but please pay me first. A maid brought over a tray with 500 taels and silver notes. I grabbed them and waved them at Rower. See that? We're rich now. Told you your young master is terrifyingly strong. She nodded dumbly, tears streaming down her face. No more going hungry. No more pretending she wasn't starving in the middle of the night. Then Shin Hongxiu asked if anyone still disagreed with my talent. The whole room turned red with embarrassment. An old scholar stood up and respectfully asked me what the missing word was. He was dying to know. I smiled and looked at Lin Feng. First things first. I told them the deal. Lin Feng and his buddies kneel and apologize to Rower, or the missing word would cost them a fortune. Shin Hongxiu's expression turned cold instantly. She realized the missing word meant her masterpiece was incomplete. She stared Lin Feng down and asked if a top exam candidate really couldn't handle losing a bet, or if her reputation wasn't worth enough. That did it. Everyone knew the crown prince backed this restaurant. Angering Shun Hongxiu meant angering the prince, which meant kissing their careers goodbye. Lin Feng's face went white. He clenched his fists, walked over to Rower, dropped to his knees, and slammed his forehead on the ground. I'm sorry. I was wrong to throw money at you. His dozen or so friends followed, all kneeling and apologizing. Rower was so shocked she didn't know what to do. But I could see her eyes turning red. She'd been sold to a brothel by her stepmother's family. I saved her life once, and now I was making powerful men kneel for her. She'd never had anyone protect her like this before. I rubbed her head and told her to stop crying. From now on, I had her back. Nobody would bully her again. I told Lin Feng's group to get up and stop looking down on people. Plenty of folks out there were better than them. For example, I said, me. Lin Feng stood up seething and spat that even if I could write, I was still just a beggar who couldn't even take the imperial exams. He stormed out with his friends, still acting superior even after getting his face ground into the dirt. I watched them leave, genuinely baffled. Where did they get that confidence? Rower tugged my sleeve and said scholars were considered noble class, and reminded me of that person back home. The fake son the Marquis treated like a treasure. I flicked her forehead and told her not to mention him when we were having a good time. Shun Hongxiu overheard us and clearly sensed there was a story behind me. She asked about the missing word. I beckoned her over. Come here. I'll only tell you. She walked up to me with that bewitching smile, eyes sparkling. My heart was pounding. Damn, she really was something else. I told Shun Hongxiu to raise her hand, then blew into her palm and told her to hold tight. The missing word was right there. Before she could react, I turned around and shouted for Rower. Rower, join forces with me. We attack the entire hall. No mercy until they're all defeated. Rower rolled up her sleeves, eyes shining. Ready, young master. I pointed at all the tables and yelled, charge. Shun Hongxiu panicked, thinking we were going to fight her guests. But then she froze, along with everyone else. We weren't attacking people. We were raiding the food. I swept through every table, grabbing shrimp, crab, chicken, duck, pig trotters, dog legs. Everything went straight into our bags. Shrimp soldiers and crab generals, pigs and dogs. That's exactly what I meant, literally. Once both bags were stuffed full, we threw them over our shoulders like two victorious generals and marched out. Thanks for the meal, everyone. I'm full. Goodbye. The guests finally snapped out of it and looked at their empty tables. Nothing left but a mess. They were furious. Shun Hongxiu just smiled. She opened her hand and saw the word I'd breathed into it. Empty. The last line read, beyond the railing, the great river emptily flows on. When the scholars heard it, they all had to admit it was perfect. One word captured all the loneliness and passing of time. They gave up trying to compete. Shun Hongxiu ordered her people to investigate who Xiao Feng really was and sent copies of my essay to the crown prince and to some rival princess's place to rub it in that her restaurant had just won. Rower and I walked down the street gnawing on chicken legs, bags of food on our shoulders, turning every head we passed. She kept asking how I'd gotten so amazing. I made up nonsense about awakening a holy bloodline, and she believed every word, asking a million follow-up questions. But when we got back to the ruined temple, the mood died instantly. Two beautiful women were standing inside. My sisters, Qin Sinan, the eldest, and Qin Sitong, the third. They stared at me in shock. In their memories, the old Tang'an was chubby, handsome, one of the best-looking guys in the capital. Now I was skin and bones, face yellow and thin. They couldn't even recognize me. Sinan's eyes went red. She threw herself into my arms, crying, grabbing my rough, cracked hands. How did you end up like this? You were the most handsome boy in the capital. If grandmother and mother saw you, they'd be heartbroken. Then she hit me and scolded me. Why are you so stubborn? Just apologize. Admit you were wrong, and I'll help you talk to father. He won't do anything to you. Why do you have to make yourself this miserable? I looked at her tear-streaked face and felt nothing but disgust. The real Tang'an waited for her while he was dying. She never came, and now she shows up acting like a loving sister? I smiled and said, Miss Qin, please have some dignity. I'm dirty. Wouldn't want to ruin your clothes. I can't afford to pay for them. She froze. My smile looked the same as the old Tang and's goofy grin, but she could feel something completely different behind it. She asked if I was angry at her for not coming. She explained she couldn't. Qin Rue had almost been poisoned to death, so how could she rush to bring me home? But now Qin Rue had forgiven me, so everything was fine. Come home. Sidong walked over too, eyes red, and punched my shoulder lightly. Kid, you've been out here for half a year. Stop throwing a tantrum. We came to get you personally. Give us some face. Let's go home. I looked at both of them and shrugged. Home? That's the Qin family's home. Not mine. You two seem to have forgotten. 6 months ago, your family reported to the emperor that my surname is Tang, not Qin. I walked to the stone table, brushed off the weeds, and laid out everything from my bags. Roasted chicken, shrimp, pig trotters. Leftover food swiped from a banquet, half eaten by strangers. This is my home. It's humble, and I can't afford to host 2 noble ladies. Please leave. Then I snapped my fingers. Rower, dinner time. We've got things to do after we eat. We sat down and dug in happily, completely ignoring them. To us, that table of scraps tasted like the best meal in the world. Sinan and Sitong stared at the leftovers. Their stomachs turned. They nearly threw up. Sinan ran over, grabbed my arm, and begged through her tears. Stop eating, please. This isn't your home. Your home is the Yangon Marquis mansion. Qin Rue has forgiven you. I promise you'll still be the eldest young master. Come home with me. I turned and looked her in the eye. Calm. No emotion. Just cold amusement. But the real Tang and already died here. He never got to see his big sister come for him. My words hit Sinan like a hammer. Her face went white. But Sitong, the third sister, she just got angry. She flipped the stone table, sending all the food I'd worked so hard to get crashing to the ground. Then she grabbed my collar and yanked me up to her face. You've had enough. We came here in person to bring you home. And this is how you act? You've been out here for 6 months, and you still won't admit your mistake? When will you ever be half as sensible as Qin Rue? I laughed at her. Miss Qin, when will you fix that arrogant attitude of yours? If I still cared enough to play games with you, you should be happy. It would mean I still treated you like family. But right now, you're not worth my effort. She shoved her finger in my face and told me I had no right to complain. I'd only been on the streets for half a year, but Qin Rue had supposedly suffered for 18 years outside the family. That finally lit my fire. I stared at her and said, the fact that you can say that proves one thing. You never bothered to investigate the truth. Not even once. The original Tang and had knelt at the gate that day, begging his 3 sisters to look into what really happened. If they'd believed him even a tiny bit, they could have uncovered the truth in minutes. But they never did. Either they didn't bother, or they found out and covered it up for Qin Rue anyway. Fine. I don't expect justice from any of you anymore. But the justice you won't give him, I will. Now get out. That pushed Sinan over the edge. She kicked me square in the chest, so hard I flew back over 10 meters and slammed into a wall. I coughed up blood on impact. Rower screamed and ran to me. Sitong grabbed Sinan and tried to hold her back, but Sinan was a trained fighter. Sitong couldn't stop her. Rower knelt in front of me, kowtowing desperately to both sisters, begging them to stop. He already died once. Please stop hurting him. Seeing her grovel like that made me angrier than the kick did. I rubbed her head and told her to stop. Why beg them? These heartless, selfish idiots don't deserve your bowing. Help me up. I can still fight. She pulled me to my feet. But then both sisters froze. Sinan's kick had shredded what was left of my shirt. My upper body was completely exposed, and they could see everything. Dozens, maybe hundreds of scars. Knife wounds, stick marks, whiplashes. And on my wrists, my ribs, my sides, bite marks. Dog bites. Some wounds were old, some fresh. A few had reopened from the kick and were bleeding right in front of them. It was like cold water poured over their heads. That was their baby brother's body. What kind of hell had he gone through? I clenched my fist and struck a pose, flexing my arm. What? Scared? These are a man's medals of honor. I pointed to the bite wound that went clean through my wrist. This one? A dog did it. Minister Lu's guard dog, you know the one. We both spotted the same chicken bone in his backyard. We fought 300 rounds for it. I invented my own dog-beating stick technique and won, but barely. I pointed to the knife scar over my heart. This one came from a guy they call the Southgate Leopard. Rower and I had just fished 2 buns out of a slop bucket. He and his gang didn't even want the food. They just didn't want us to eat. 2 against 18. We fought from midnight to noon. I kept going, scar by scar, telling each story like I was bragging about victories. Light, casual, almost funny. But every word was a knife twisting in their hearts. That chest scar, half an inch to the side, and the old Tang and would have been dead for sure. And where were they when all this was happening? Riding horses and going on hunts with Qin Rue. Living the good life. Stop. Stop talking. Sitong threw her arms around me, shaking. It's okay now. I'm here. Let's go home. She tried to wrap her fur cloak around my shoulders. I blocked her hand. You two still don't understand what I'm saying. I looked them both in the eye. First, I'm not using my suffering to win your sympathy. You're not worth it. Second, when I needed you most, you chose to look away. Now, I don't need you anymore. I looked at Sinan, and my voice finally went cold. That kick just now was pretty strong. Consider it payment for 18 years of the Qin family raising me. We're even, but next time you try that, I'm hitting back. Rower, show them out. My words cut deep, especially for Sitong. Her fingers were trembling, guilty about kicking me, but too proud to admit it. She pointed at me and snapped. You've only suffered for half a year. Qin Rue suffered for 18 years outside. Did he ever complain? Your parents, grandmother, sisters, they all loved you. How dare you talk about cutting ties? Do you even have a conscience? Are you coming home or not? 3 sentences, and she still couldn't stop bringing up her precious Qin Rue. I didn't answer. I just picked up the stone table she'd flipped, put the scattered food back on it, sat down, plucked a piece of grass off a chicken leg, blew off the dust, and kept eating. Sinan covered her mouth and cried. But Sitong lost it completely. She kicked the stone table in half, then stomped on every piece of food, chicken, duck, shrimp, crab, grinding it all into paste under her boots. You want to eat this? You want to perform for us? You think this makes us feel guilty? Dream on. I sat there calmly chewing my chicken leg, watching her throw her tantrum. When she was done destroying everything, I tore off the last bit of meat and put it in Rower's mouth. Then I tossed the bare bone at Sidong's feet. Don't let me stop you. Please continue. She almost hit me again, but saw my wounds and barely held back. Sinan stepped in and tried to calm things down. She handed me a bundle, winter clothes she'd sewn by hand, plus 100 taels of silver. If you need anything, come to me. I'll always be on your side. I took the bundle, smiled, swung it around a few times over my head, and hurled it out of the temple. Thanks, but this dump doesn't accept charity. That was the last straw. Sitong couldn't hit me, so she made a threat instead. She said she'd order the military guard to post notices across the entire capital. Anyone who gave me so much as a scrap of food would be declared an enemy of the military and the Yangon Marquis household. You want to be a beggar? I'll make sure you can't even beg. She dragged a crying Sinan out with her. Sinan wanted to say something, but didn't. She clearly agreed with the plan. Rower's eyes went red again, looking at the mess on the ground. All that food I'd earned, destroyed. And now the third sister was cutting off every possible way for us to survive. I flicked her forehead. We'll learn more. Your young master's rise cannot be stopped. Definitely not by some little Marquis family. I told her to clean up the meat paste before it attracted stray dogs and beggars fighting us for territory. Then we'd go handle some real business. While Rower cleaned, she found something. The stone table Sitong had kicked apart had a hollow space inside, and there was an old yellowed book hidden in it. I picked it up. The cover had rotted away, but when I flipped to the first page, I nearly choked. To master this technique, one must first castrate oneself. What the hell? Is this the evil repelling sword manual? It was a martial arts manual. And in this world, martial arts were real. People could genuinely fly and punch through walls. Sitong herself could kill a bull with one punch. I turned the next page. It read, still got everything? Just kidding. No castration needed. You'll succeed just fine without it. Great. 2 pages in, and it's already trolling me. The author was clearly not a serious person. I grumbled, but carefully tucked the book into my shirt. A secret martial arts manual hidden inside a stone. Every novel I'd ever read told me this was going to be something incredible. But first things first. I had to handle survival before I could train. Otherwise, I'd end up dead again, chatting with the original Tang and in the afterlife about life lessons. Meanwhile, at the Crown Prince's palace, things were getting interesting. The prince had been stressing for ages over his new academy, the Tungwen Academy, which was supposed to rival the Imperial Academy. But the Imperial Academy had a legendary couplet on its front gate, and without something equally impressive, opening the new academy would be a joke. Then Shun Hongxiu sent over my essay. The prince opened it casually, annoyed at first. Then he sat bolt upright. His eyes went wide. His breathing got fast. Looks like my little poem was about to shake up more than just a restaurant. Meanwhile, my essay was causing chaos across the capital without me knowing. At the Crown Prince's palace, Prince Liangxiu read my piece and practically jumped out of his chair. His two top scholars, who'd been arguing for ages about the opening of the new Tungwen Academy, both went quiet and started trembling with excitement. They called it a once-in-a-generation masterpiece. The prince had been stuck for months because he needed a piece of writing grand enough to rival the Imperial Academy's famous front gate couplet. Now he had it. He ordered his people to find Xiao Feng the beggar by tomorrow, no matter the cost. At Princess Yunyang's mansion, Princess Lianglan read it too and was impressed, but also annoyed that Shun Hongxiu had scored such a win. She ordered her people to investigate my identity as well. She wanted to recruit me before anyone else could. Back at the Yangon Marquis mansion, Qin Rue got the news that the restaurant had rejected his essay in favor of mine. His sisters read the piece and admitted it was far better than his. Qin Rue smiled and acted humble on the outside, but the moment he turned around, his face went dark. Some beggar named Xiao Feng had just ruined his plan to impress the crown prince. Sidong also ordered her people to find out who I was, angry that someone dared outshine her precious little brother. I had no idea about any of this. Rower and I went shopping for new clothes, then took a bath at a public bathhouse. Looking in a bronze mirror afterward, I had to admit, this body's face was genuinely handsome. Even skinny and beaten up, I cleaned up nice. Roker couldn't stop staring. I took her to the county office and spent 200 taels buying the ruined temple. The clerk looked at us like we were idiots, but I didn't care. The original Tang and died there. That place was his. If the Qin family wouldn't give him a home, I'd make one where he fell. I spent another 40 taels on basic repairs and furniture, 2 beds, tables, chairs. By nightfall, the broken temple actually looked like a real home. Rower asked if we were really staying here and never going back. I told her we were never going back. I'd rather build something from nothing than eat the Qin family's scraps ever again. I was standing in the yard thinking about how I needed to make money fast and fill this place up when I heard shouting outside. Men searching for someone, yelling about a woman who'd been drugged and couldn't have gotten far. Rower's eyes lit up, wanting to go see what was happening. I glared at her and told her to mind her own business. Then my blood went cold. A woman in a white dress had appeared right behind Rower without making a sound. Before Rower could finish her sentence, the woman chopped her on the neck and knocked her out cold. Then a sword was at my throat, barely a hair's width from my skin. I froze, hands up. Hey, beautiful, let's talk this out. You want to hide from those guys outside? I can help. I'm a very helpful person. The woman's eyes narrowed. She looked me over and said, the former heir of the Yangon Marquis household. Nice face. Too bad. My heart sank. She knew who I was. Was she one of Qin Rue's people? Before I could react, the woman jabbed a finger into my chest. My whole body went numb like I'd been electrocuted. I couldn't move. Only my eyes and mouth still worked. She'd hit my pressure points. This world actually had that. I yelled at her to leave Rower alone and come at me instead. She stared at me for a moment, then nodded. All right then. I'll use you to cure my poison. She walked behind me. I tried to turn my head, but couldn't move an inch. Then I felt a silk handkerchief cover my eyes, tied behind my head. My body went stiff. This felt way too familiar. She pushed me to the ground. Even an idiot would know what was about to happen. I was being taken by force, by a beautiful woman. I screamed, cursed, threatened, begged, told her I was just a kid, barely 18. Nothing worked. My pants came off. I clenched my jaw and stopped talking. Tears of frustration rolled down my face. This was how my first time in this world happened, pinned down, blindfolded, completely powerless. She kept me going until the roosters crowed at dawn. 7 times in one night. When she finally finished, she patted my face and said, "Not bad. You've earned a reward." She released my pressure points and I ripped off the blindfold, trying to stand up. My legs gave out 3 times. My back felt broken. By the time I got to my feet, She was gone. The yard was a mess. Then I looked down at the blood on my thigh and froze. She was a virgin? Her first time too? If it was your first time, why were you acting like a damn expert? I pulled my pants on fast. Rotor came running out screaming that I was bleeding. I told her it wasn't my blood, then immediately regretted saying that. If it's not yours, is it the princess's blood? Is she hurt? Where is she? I tripped and fell flat on my face. Princess? What princess? Rower blinked innocently. She told me the woman from last night was Princess Yunyang, Liang Lan, the emperor's most beloved daughter. Rower had seen her once at the Empress Dowager's birthday when she accompanied the old madam into the palace. I lay on the ground staring at the sky, feeling my soul leave my body. I just slept with a princess. Not just any princess, a married one. Her husband, the Marquis of Dingbian, had died on their wedding night before they even consummated the marriage. She'd been called a cursed woman ever since, shunned by everyone in the capital despite being drop-dead gorgeous. 5 years of pent-up desire, plus whatever drug she'd been hit with, and she'd been more aggressive than me. But wait, she'd seemed perfectly clear-headed. She knew to blindfold me, so I wouldn't see her face. And she'd been talking dirty the whole time. That's not someone out of her mind on drugs. None of that mattered, though. The real problem was simple. If anyone found out I'd been with the princess, I was dead. I kept thinking about that monk from Tang Dynasty history who got caught with a princess, chopped in half in the public square. Did the princess bully you? Rower asked, puffing her cheeks angrily. Even if she's royalty, that's not right. I twitched. Bully? Yeah, I was bullied, though honestly. That kind of bullying, I wouldn't mind a few more rounds. I shook that thought away and told Rower in my most serious voice, listen carefully. We never saw any princess. Last night was a dream. Don't breathe a word of this to anyone, or your young master is a dead man. Her face went pale. What had the princess done to me that was this serious? I dragged myself toward the bedroom to sleep, then stopped, limped back, and picked up the handkerchief she'd left on the ground. Evidence. If that woman ever tried to deny what happened, I'd need proof for the lawsuit. Rower watched me hobble away, the blood on my leg, the fury on my face, and slowly put the pieces together. Her eyes went huge and her hands clamped over her mouth. The princess had taken her young master to bed. While I was passed out recovering from my ordeal, the whole capital was turning upside down because of me. At the princess's mansion, Liang Lan, the woman who'd just spent the night with me, was taking a bath while her maid cried over what happened. The maid thought some guy named Zhao Zheng from the prime minister's family had assaulted her and wanted to report it to the emperor. But Liang Lan told her to calm down. It wasn't Zhao Zheng who touched her. It was me, though she didn't spell that out. She figured out the whole thing was a trap. The Zhao siblings had drugged her on purpose, hoping she'd run to her father the emperor in outrage. The emperor was already sick and fragile. Any shock could kill him. That was their real goal. They wanted to use her to push the emperor over the edge, because everyone already called her a cursed woman who killed her husband on their wedding night. Killing her father too would fit the narrative perfectly. But the princess was smarter than they thought. She wouldn't fall for it. Then she put the pieces together about me. She'd already been investigating Xiao Feng and realized that the beggar who wrote that masterpiece at Drunk Moon Tower was actually Tang An, the former heir of the Yangon Marquis mansion. She started wondering about something bigger. Apparently, years ago, a Taoist master from Dragon Tiger Mountain had told the emperor that someone from the Qin family would emerge with extraordinary talent and help create an unprecedented golden age. The emperor had been clinging to life waiting for that person to appear. If I was truly that talented, maybe I was the one the prophecy meant. Maybe I could even save the emperor. She ordered a full investigation into me before telling her father anything. At the Crown Prince's palace, the prince and his 2 top scholars got the same report. They were all stunned. Xiao Feng was Tang An, that infamous good-for-nothing from the Yangon household. The prince had met the old me before, a lazy, useless rich kid. How could that guy have written a masterpiece? One scholar suggested maybe someone else wrote it for me, but the prince shot that down. The essay described the exact sunset scene visible from the restaurant at that moment. No ghostwriter could have predicted that. He decided to visit me personally to find out the truth. If I really had this kind of talent, the Tungwen Academy had to recruit me at any cost. Back at the Yangon mansion, Qin Rue got the same news and kicked his tea table across the room in rage. His sweet, humble mask came off completely when he was alone. He couldn't believe I had this kind of ability. He'd schemed and manipulated to steal everything from me, and now one essay had made me the talk of the entire capital. He muttered something about a life worth 3 feet from the essay, then snarled that if my life was so insignificant, I should just die. Then he heard Sitong and Sinon coming. In 1 second flat, his twisted, furious face snapped back into a bright smile. He ran to greet them, waving the report excitedly. Great news. The genius who wrote that essay. It's my brother. It's Tangen. He acted thrilled and proud, praising my talent. The perfect little brother act. Both sisters froze. The beggar poet who'd shaken the entire capital overnight was the same skinny, scarred kid they'd visited in that ruined temple yesterday. They couldn't believe it. That useless punk actually had this kind of talent hidden inside him. Back at the Qin mansion, Sitong and Sinon couldn't believe it. Tangen wrote that masterpiece. The same kid who couldn't even recognize all his characters? Sinon remembered how he'd once written a poem about snow at a poetry gathering that became a joke across the entire noble circle. Literally, just counting snowflakes. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. Qin Rue played his part perfectly. He acted excited and proud, begging his sisters to bring me home. Big brother is so talented. He's suffering out there as a beggar. Please go get him. Then, right on cue, his little servant boy, following a secret hand signal, pinched his own leg until his eyes went red and blurted out, "Young master, you're too kind. That essay is obviously copied from someone else." Qin Rue kicked the servant to the ground, pretending to be angry. "Don't say that. My brother would never do something like that. I believe in him." Then he turned to the sisters with innocent eyes. "Please ignore that rumor. Brother is a good person." It was a masterful performance. He planted the idea that I'd plagiarize someone else's work while looking like the loving, trusting brother. And it worked perfectly. Whatever guilt the sisters had felt about destroying my food yesterday vanished instantly. Now they thought I'd not only stolen someone else's writing, but had deliberately sabotaged Qin Rue's chance to build a relationship with the crown prince. Sitong grabbed Qin Rue's hand. "Let's go. I'll deal with him." Sinon wanted to tell her to calm down, but held back. She agreed I needed to be taught a lesson. Half an hour later, their carriage pulled up outside my place. They froze when they saw it. Yesterday, it was a doorless ruin. Now it had a proper gate, and above it hung a brand new sign I'd carved myself, Tang Residence. The alley was swept clean, the ground scrubbed and shining. Sitong and Sinon stared at the sign, faces ugly. They hadn't believed me yesterday when I called this place home. But I'd actually done it, set up my own household, with my own surname. Qin Rue's eyes went cold behind his smile. Yesterday his people told him I'd be dead within 2 days. Instead I was thriving. Sitong didn't bother knocking. She cracked her whip and split my sign in half. Then she kicked the gate so hard it shattered into pieces and flew into the yard. Qin Rue watched with barely contained excitement. "Yes, just like that. Don't hold back. Beat him to death if you can." Inside, Rower had been sitting at the stone table, cutting fabric to tailor the clothes I'd bought yesterday. When she saw the destroyed gate and the broken sign being dragged in, she burst into tears. "What are you doing? You just hit him yesterday, and now this." He built that door with his own hands. He wrote that sign stroke by stroke. He went through a whole basket of drafts to get it right. "How could you?" Sitong slammed her whip on the table, shredding the fabric Rower had been cutting. "Shut up. Where's Tangen? Tell him to get out here." Rower was shaking with fear, but she stood her ground, blocking the way. "Go away. He doesn't want to see you. Stop bothering him. Leave." Sitong's face darkened. A little servant girl daring to shout at her? She raised her whip and swung it straight at Rower. But before it could land, I rushed out and wrapped myself around Rower, shielding her with my body. The whip cracked across my back. Skin split open on the spot. Sitong's whip hit my back with full force. It split my skin from my right shoulder almost down to my waist, leaving a bloody gash. I didn't even look at them. I grabbed Rower's shoulders, ignoring the burning pain, and checked her over. "Are you hurt? Anything? Anywhere?" That's all I cared about. Rower said she was fine, but pointed at the smashed gate and broken sign on the ground, crying. I rubbed her head and told her it was no big deal. We'd make them pay for the damage. Wipe those tears. Don't let outsiders see you cry. Then I turned toward Sitong. Something snapped inside me. I grabbed a bench off the ground and charged straight at her. Her eyes went wide. She never expected me to actually fight back. Qin Rue threw himself in front of her like a hero, arms spread wide. The perfect protective little brother act. Sitong panicked and kicked the bench apart, then slammed her foot into my chest. I flew back 7 or 8 meters and hit the ground hard, coughing up blood. I didn't care. I grabbed a wooden stick and charged again. I still had all my combat training from my past life, but this body was pathetically weak. I couldn't use even a tenth of my real ability. Against someone with actual martial arts skills, all I could do was throw myself at her like a madman. Qin Rue's face was white with fake concern, but his eyes were sparkling. He was loving every second of this. Come on, dear sister, kill him for me. Sidong caught the stick and ripped it from my hands. She grabbed my throat and started squeezing. Roer screamed and ran at Sinon to try to pull her away, but Sinon kicked Roer so hard she flew back 4 or 5 meters and coughed up blood. Seeing that made my eyes go completely red. I wound up my fist and smashed it right into Sidong's forehead. Screw you. She was so shocked by the profanity that she actually froze for a second, and my punch landed clean. She stumbled back 3 or 4 steps, letting go of my throat. Qin Rue rushed to her side, playing the concerned brother again. Then he turned to me with a look of staged anger. How could you hit our sister? Don't you know how much they've missed you? How would our parents feel? I helped row her up, then looked at Qin Rue for a long moment. I spat blood on the ground. Damn, a grown man acting like the biggest fake saint in a soap opera. Truly disgusting. But I guess you fit right in with this family. A perfect match. Sidong was shaking with rage. Her baby brother had actually punched her in the face. I stared her down. Did you forget what I told you yesterday? I said if you touch me again, I'm hitting back. Did you think I was joking? You whipped me once. Kicked me once. Kicked Roa once. I punched you once. I got the worst end of that deal, but I'm a man. I can take it. I pointed at the broken gate and the shattered sign on the ground. Pay for what you destroyed. Then get out. Sinon stepped in and told me to apologize to Sidong. Your siblings. Does it have to come to this? I laughed coldly. You have it backwards. Who keeps coming here to start trouble? I told you yesterday you're not welcome. Yet here you are again. Then Sidong finally revealed why they'd actually come. She pointed at me and snapped. You think we wanted to visit you? Don't flatter yourself. I came here for one reason. If you want to compete with Qin Rue, do it fairly. If you ever pull another dirty trick like having someone write an essay to make him look bad, I won't go easy on you. And just like that, I understood everything. This was about the essay. They thought I'd plagiarized it to deliberately humiliate Qin Rue. I wasn't surprised they found out I wrote the essay. I never planned to stay hidden. How else was I going to rise up and crush the Qin family into dust? I clapped my hands and smiled. Oh, so that's why you're here? Miss Qin, you used the word dirty tricks. Funny, because that's practically your precious Qin Rue's middle name. When it comes to dirty tricks, I'm not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Qin Rue's eyes flickered with panic for a split second, but his face stayed calm. He smiled gently and said in this soft, feminine voice, Brother, I think there's a misunderstanding. I can explain. His voice made my skin crawl. A grown man talking like that. Disgusting. Both sisters immediately shielded Qin Rue, demanding I apologize to him. Sinon frowned and said, How can you talk about your brother like that? Then Qin Rue did his thing again. He stepped between them, arms around both sisters, and looked at me with a little smirk. Without making a sound, he mouthed the words, So what if I play dirty? What can you do about it? Who's going to believe you? That was his old trick, provoking the original Tang and until he'd lose control in front of the sisters, making himself look crazy. Then they'd trust Qin Rue even more. Too bad for him. I'm not the old Tangin. I spent 3 days lying still in a sniper position with bullets flying past my head and bombs going off beside me. Patience. That's the one thing I'll never run out of. I just pointed at the mess they'd made, broken gate, shattered sign, and asked what kind of logic lets someone smash up another person's home and then demand an apology from the victim. Qin Rue played peacemaker again, patting Sidong's arm, saying I'd suffered a lot these past 6 months, and it was natural for me to be grumpy. Sinon jumped in and told Qin Rue that he was the one who really suffered, 18 years alone outside. She said I was just looking for trouble and making everyone worry for nothing. I literally bent over and pretended to vomit. Then I gave her a thumbs up. Absolutely right, Miss Qin. I'm just a worthless troublemaker. Totally agree. I pointed at the door one more time. Pay for the gate. Then take your beloved, adorable, precious, darling little brother and get out of my house. You're polluting my air. Sitong raised her whip again. I grabbed a bench. Rower picked up a bamboo pole taller than herself and stood next to me. We were ready to fight. Qin Rue watched with mocking eyes, waiting for Sitong to destroy me. Sitong cracked her whip at me. I lifted the bench to block, but a figure in red landed between us. One long leg kicked and stomped, pinning Sitong's whip to the ground. The woman turned to me with a charming smile. Mr. Chiao, we meet again. It was Shun Hongxiu, from the restaurant. I dropped the bench, a bit embarrassed. Hey, if you know my real name, stop calling me Chiao. It's awkward. She teased me about how bold I'd been yesterday, outriding an entire room of scholars. Then Sitong glared at her. This is family business. Who asked you to interfere? Shun Hongxiu glanced behind Sitong and said, maybe look behind you before you say that. We all turned around. A young man in a blue robe walked in with a cold expression. Behind him were the two most senior scholars from the Imperial Academy. It was the Crown Prince, Liang Xiu. He looked at Sitong and said coolly, General Qin is impressive not only on the battlefield. Apparently she's just as fierce when bullying her own brother at home. None of them expected the Crown Prince to show up. The three of them dropped to their knees immediately. I just gave him a casual bow. One of the scholars scolded me for not kneeling. Sitong grabbed my arm and hissed at me to get on my knees and apologize. I ignored her. Your Highness, my leg is injured. Can't kneel. Besides, you're the one who needs something from me, right? If you want me to work on my knees, sorry, can't do it. The Qin siblings were terrified. But Qin Rue was secretly thrilled. He thought I'd just signed my own death warrant by disrespecting the prince. The prince just laughed. Interesting. He waved everyone up and asked me directly. The preface to the Drunk Moon Tower. Did you write it? Before I could answer, Sinan jumped in. She bowed and told the prince the essay wasn't mine, that I'd hired someone to write it just to outshine Qin Rue. She said I was talentless and that Qin Rue was the real deal. Sitong backed her up. Qin Rue stepped forward and offered his services to the prince with a humble bow. They were literally stomping on me to build a staircase for their precious little brother, right in front of my face. The prince looked confused and asked me if it was true. I glanced at the three of them and smiled. Can't you tell? They're deliberately putting me down to pave the road for their favorite brother. The essay is mine. And yes, one of my reasons for writing it was to block Qin Rue's path. Walk his road, so he's got nowhere to go. Sinan's face darkened. She scolded me in a low voice. Sitong stepped forward and told me to shut up and get out of the way before I embarrassed the entire Yangon household even more. Then Shun Hongxiu spoke up. Her voice was cold and mocking. Hired someone? That's hilarious. The essay describes the exact scenery from yesterday. Is the ghostwriter psychic? And who in all of Great Liang could even write something like that? She patted my shoulder with a sweet smile. Don't worry, little brother. Your family doesn't believe in you, but big sister does. I pointed at my temple and said, don't feel sorry for them. Qin Rue brainwashed them. Their IQ is in the negatives. Qin Rue tried to intervene with his gentle act. I turned to him and said one word, scram. The look in my eyes shut him up cold. He actually flinched. I looked at both sisters still shielding Qin Rue and shook my head. They really had brother-obsessed idiots tattooed on their foreheads. Fine. No more arguing. Time for the big move. I turned to the prince. Your Highness, you came here about the Tongwen Academy, didn't you? You need a couplet for the front gate, something that can match or crush the one on the Imperial Academy's gate. The prince's face lit up. You can write one? I wiped my nose and said casually, it's just a couplet. I won't promise it'll be the greatest ever written, but stomping on that garbage hanging on the Imperial Academy's gate? No problem at all. Dead silence. The prince froze. Shun Hongxiu gasped and covered her mouth. The two scholars' jaws dropped. The Qin siblings stared at me like I'd lost my mind. The Imperial Academy's couplet was written by Prime Minister Zhao Kuo himself, the most powerful man in the literary world, the most influential politician besides the emperor. Nobody in the entire country dared to challenge it, let alone call it garbage. Every official, every scholar in the land was too afraid to even try. And I just called it trash to the Crown Prince's face. Scholar Fanqing told me to watch my mouth. Sinan jumped in front of me again, bowing and apologizing for my rude behavior. This woman was really something. She'd stomp on me to lift Qin Rue, then claim she was doing it for my own good. I pushed her aside and turned to the prince and the two scholars. I broke down exactly what was wrong with the Imperial Academy's couplet. Its message boiled down to, shut out the world and bury yourself in books. That kind of closed-off thinking might produce decent students, but never truly great ones. If the Tongwen Academy wanted to be different, it needed to encourage open thinking, diverse subjects, and real understanding of the country and its people. The couplet had to shatter the old mindset and inspire a sense of responsibility toward the world. The prince and the scholars were nodding along, impressed. Even my sisters looked stunned. They'd never seen me like this. Qin Rue was grinding his teeth behind his smile. But he was clever. He started clapping first, acting excited, urging me to hurry up and write it. He was betting I'd choke when it was time to actually put ink on paper. I called for Rower to bring brush, ink, and paper. She ran inside and came back with a tray. I rolled up my sleeves and started writing. Everyone crowded around, reading each character as I wrote it. Upper line, the sound of wind, the sound of rain, the sound of reading. Every sound enters the ear. The two scholars nearly lost their minds. The meaning was clear. A true scholar doesn't just read dead books. He listens to the storm outside. It was the direct opposite of the Imperial Academy's philosophy, and the elegance was off the charts. The prince was clenching his fists, trying to contain his excitement. Shen Hongxiu wasn't as shocked. She'd already seen what I could do yesterday. Sinan had her hand over her mouth. Xidong's eyes were wide. Even they couldn't deny this was something special. Qin Rue's eyes were red with jealousy. If he'd written this, he'd be the talk of the capital. Then I wrote the lower line. Family affairs, national affairs, affairs of the world. Every affair deserves concern. The yard went dead silent. This couplet was actually from the Ming Dynasty scholar Gu Xianqing, one of the most influential pieces of writing in Chinese history. Their reaction was exactly what I expected. The two scholars literally jumped up and down, throwing away all dignity. This is it. This is exactly what we've been trying to say. Pursue knowledge, but take responsibility for the nation and the world. Compared to this, the Imperial Academy's couplet is worthless. The prince bowed to me. You truly are talented. You've solved my biggest problem. Scholar Fanqing apologized for doubting me earlier. With a couplet like this, you've earned the right to be as bold as you want. I waved them off casually. No big deal. Happy to help. Then I stretched out my hand toward the prince. Now pay up. 1,000 taels per character, 22 characters total. I'll round down. 20,000 taels will do. The prince and Fanqing's faces froze mid-smile. Sinan grabbed my arm, face flushed with anger. What are you doing? Helping the prince is a great honor. You're asking for money like some merchant? How embarrassing. Then Shen Hongxiu's laugh cut through the silence. Miss Qin, you clearly don't know the price of rice. The young man standing in front of you isn't the Yangon heir anymore. His name is Tangan. He's just a poor soul struggling to survive at the bottom of this city. He asked for money. What's wrong with that? Shen Hongxiu didn't hold back at all, reminding everyone that just yesterday I'd shown up at her restaurant so hungry she could hear my stomach growling from across the room. The prince caught her meaning immediately. If he recruited me openly, I'd be labeled as his faction and become a target. But if he simply bought my writing, it was just a business deal. Nobody could attack me for selling a couplet. You're right. I should pay, the prince said with a bow. Qin Rue was burning with jealousy. The opportunity he'd been desperately chasing, I'd gotten effortlessly, and was treating it like nothing. He stepped forward with a smile and pointed out that my couplet was missing a horizontal banner across the top. Without it, even the greatest couplet was incomplete. He was praying I'd fail on this part. The prince and the scholars realized he was right. They'd been too excited to notice. I grinned at Qin Rue. Good catch. But that reminder just cost His Highness another 10,000 taels. I picked up the brush and wrote the banner. The rise and fall of a nation is every man's responsibility. Everyone went still again. The Imperial Academy's banner said, top the exam rankings, focused on personal glory. Mine was about collective duty to the entire country. The two scholars were practically in tears. This is what real vision looks like. We've served for decades, and our thinking can't match an 18-year-old's. The prince looked at me like I was a treasure. 30,000 taels, delivered today. And consider me in your debt. If you ever need help, come to me. Then Qin Rue cracked. His composure shattered for a second. Impossible. How is this possible? Everyone turned to stare at him. He realized his mistake and quickly forced a smile. I mean, brother's talent is truly incredible. The Imperial Academy can't possibly compare. I walked up to him, studied his face, and smiled. Doesn't all that pretending get exhausting? His eyes flashed with murderous rage behind his gentle smile. Brother, you misunder. I punched him square in the face. He screamed and fell backward, blood gushing from his nose. Both sisters lunged forward, but Shun Hongxiu blocked their path with a smile. Let the brothers bond. The prince is right here. Nothing too bad will happen. They looked at the prince for help, but he didn't even glance at them. His eyes stayed on me. Qin Rue scrambled backward on the ground, whimpering. Brother, it's a misunderstanding. I never meant to hurt you, but behind his frightened eyes, I could see the calculation. Hit me more, he was thinking. Every punch makes the sisters hate you more. I laughed. You think this ruins my image with them? Sorry, they're already dead to me. Couldn't care less what they think. What matters is, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. I grabbed the wooden table beside me and smashed it across his back. It shattered on impact. He screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Usually, his sisters would have thrown themselves in to protect him. But with the prince watching, they didn't dare. For the first time, real fear appeared in Qin Rue's eyes. He could feel it. I wasn't just roughing him up. I was trying to seriously hurt him. I grabbed a broken table leg and kept swinging. You already killed me once. You just don't know it yet. I beat him until he was bleeding from his head, covered in bruises, a complete mess. The sisters finally begged the prince to stop me. He glanced at them coldly. Isn't Tang and your brother too? They had nothing to say to that. The prince told me to stop. If I crippled Qin Rue, it would be hard to explain to the Marquis. I let go and turned to my sisters. They both looked away, unable to meet my eyes. I pointed at the broken gate. Rower, how much do they owe us for the door and the sign? Rower looked at the damage and held up 2 fingers. There you have it. 2,000 taels for damages. Pay up and get out. From now on, anyone who steps through my gate without permission will be killed on sight. Rower stared at me, jaw dropped. She'd meant 2 taels, not 2,000. Sitong helped Qin Rue up and glared at me, furious about his injuries. I wiped the blood off my hands and smiled. Be glad the prince was here. Otherwise, it would have been much worse. Sinan looked at me with disappointment. What happened to you? You used to be kind. Look at yourself now. I stared at her, voice cold. That's exactly why he died. Too kind, too trusting. His last hallucination before dying was his sisters coming to take him home. The Tangan you knew is gone. I'm the new one. Now pay up and get out. Her fingers trembled. She couldn't argue. Something in my eyes scared her into silence. She pulled out the silver notes and held them out. When I reached for them, she gripped tight and begged one more time. Please stop this. Come home with me. I'm begging you. I yanked the notes from her hand without a word, tossed them to Rower, and told her to hire workers to fix our gate and walls. We've got money now. Make it look nice. Rower clutched the notes, starstruck. 2 taels worth of damage, and I'd charge them 2,000. I turned to the prince, Shun Hongxiu, and the scholars, and apologized for the family drama. Sorry about that. Bad luck with relatives. The sisters froze mid-step on their way out. Bad luck with relatives? We're the bad luck. The prince waved it off. He said the Qin family had treated me terribly and deserved what they got. Then he mentioned something that made my blood run cold. In half a month, it's my imperial sister Princess Yunyang's birthday. She loves talented writers. I'd like to invite you on her behalf. I jumped like someone had stepped on my tail. I'm not going. Everyone stared at me. The prince looked confused by my overreaction. I scrambled for an excuse. Your Highness, I'm really not that talented. I'd only embarrassed the princess. Inside, I was panicking. That woman had pinned me down and had her way with me just last night. In my own home. If I went to her territory, I'd be walking straight into the lion's den. What if she did it again? I'm a man. I physically cannot refuse. The prince insisted. He said the princess had praised my essay multiple times and probably wanted to meet me. Yeah, she wanted to meet me all right. He cut me off before I could refuse again. It's settled. I'll send someone to pick you up. Then he left with his scholars. Shun Hongxiu lingered, leaning close with a teasing smile. She pinched my chin and whispered, be careful around the princess. She keeps many male companions, you know? Don't let her enchant you. Many male companions? Impossible. I'd personally verified she was a virgin last night. But I played along, acting scared, wrapping my arms around her slim waist. Then you have to protect me. I'm so timid. She rolled her eyes and smiled. Timid? Your eyes are practically eating me alive right now. She said she'd be happy to help if the princess gave me trouble. Apparently, she and that woman were rivals. After everyone left, I told Rower to get ready. We needed to find some muscle. Qin Rue's beggar army would probably come knocking tonight, and the two of us couldn't handle them alone. Meanwhile, the prince told Shin Hongxiu to have people secretly protecting me. He said the person who could help restore the dynasty's glory wasn't Qin Rue, it was me. Then he rushed to the palace to tell the sick emperor. In the Qin family's carriage, Sidong was raging about how she'd teach me a lesson once the prince was gone. Sinan said something that almost ruined Qin Rue. She wanted to investigate what had actually happened to me during these 6 months. Qin Rue had been faking unconsciousness, but hearing that made him panic. Several of my near-death crises were his doing. An investigation would expose everything. He immediately pretended to wake up and started his act. It's okay. I believe in brother. He's not the kind of person who'd hurt family. Then he steered them toward believing the couplet was also written by someone else. Sidong jumped on it. Of course, if I'd hired someone for the essay, I must have had someone prepare the couplet too, knowing the prince would come. She convinced herself it all made sense. Sinan frowned, not fully buying it. But the idea that a useless punk could suddenly become a genius overnight was hard to accept, so she let it go. In the quiet carriage, Qin Rue glanced at both sisters and saw they believed him. Behind his innocent expression, his eyes turned ice cold. He was thinking one thing. I'm going to make sure you die, Tangin. No matter what it takes. I walked through the streets with Rower, hands behind my head, whistling. I knew Qin Rue wouldn't let today's humiliation slide, especially not after I'd beaten him bloody in front of the prince. Tonight, he'd send his beggar army after us. Last time they just bullied and starved the old Tangin. This time, they'd be coming to kill. But I wasn't worried. He could find muscle. So could I. I led Rower to a burned-out street on the rough side of town where a bunch of homeless kids lived among the ruins. I was looking for a girl called Tiger Girl. She ran a small gang of beggars, and the old Tangin had stayed with her group for a while when things got really bad. She was tough and loyal, once fought her way down an entire street with a stick just to save him. He'd left her group on his own, so Qin Rue's people wouldn't target her too. 2 ragged beggars spotted us at the entrance. They nearly fell over when they recognized me, clean, dressed in fancy silk, looking like a rich young lord instead of the scrawny weakling they remembered. I struck a casual pose. Yeah, I came into a bit of money. Nothing crazy, just bought a 2-courtyard house and have a few thousand taels left over. Their eyes practically popped out. A few thousand taels was not much. Tiger Girl came out chewing on a grass root. She looked scrappy and clean compared to the others, patched clothes, but washed. Her hair was messy and her face was dirty, but my trained eye caught it immediately. The mess was fresh, deliberately applied. She was disguising herself. Someone with martial arts skills good enough to fight off a whole street of thugs definitely had a story she was hiding. She walked up to me, circled me once, then grabbed my ear and twisted. What? You came here dressed all pretty to show off. You want to die? I yelped and spun with her hand to ease the pain. This is called, when you get rich, don't forget your friends. Stop being ungrateful. She kicked me in the butt, sent me flying several meters, then held out her hand. Rich friends don't forget, huh? Give me 5,000 taels then. Just casually. 5,000? Are you insane? She spat out her grass root and pointed at me. See? Won't even give 5,000. No sincerity. Her whole gang laughed. Fine. I told Rower to pull back the curtains on the 2 carts I'd hired. The laughter died instantly. One cart was loaded with rows of golden, steaming roasted chickens, still fresh from the oven. The other was stacked with brand new clothes. Every stomach in that alley growled at the same time, including Tiger Girls. With all the refugees flooding into the capital lately, these kids were lucky to scrounge 2 buns a day. And here were 30 roasted chickens, glistening with oil, filling the air with the most incredible smell. I tore off a juicy drumstick, held it under my nose, and took a deep sniff. Here's my offer. I want to absorb your whole group. You all follow me. I'm the boss. First, you eat well every day, no more starving. Second, monthly salary, 10 taels of silver per person. Third, Stick with me, and someday you'll all be somebody important in this city. But no pressure. Take your time thinking about it. Then I bit into the chicken leg, handed it to Rower for a bite, took it back for another bite, and we went back and forth, slowly, deliberately, right in front of them. Rower, is the chicken good? So good, young master. Then eat more. It's just chicken. I've got plenty. Tiger Girl and her gang stared at us with bloodshot eyes, swallowing hard. I said I wouldn't pressure them, but eating like this right in their faces? That was worse than any pressure. The invisible kind of coercion is always the most lethal. Tiger Girl couldn't take it anymore. She grabbed my collar, flipped me over her shoulder, and snatched the chicken leg right out of my hand. This is mine now. You can take anything from me, but never my chicken leg. Then she turned to her gang and announced, from now on, I'm not your boss anymore. We follow Tangen. He's the big boss now. The whole group dropped to one knee and saluted me. Greetings, big boss. I twitched. Big boss. Really? And this ceremony was a bit pathetic. I was still pinned on the ground with Tiger Girl's knee on my back. Fine, I'm the boss now. First order, beat up Tiger Girl for me. They all looked awkward. A kid named Bao swallowed and said, Boss, we can't. All of us together aren't enough for one of her hands. I looked at Tiger Girl. She grinned down at me. Got a problem? Nope. No problem at all. Total respect. I told her to let the gang eat. She waved her hand, and they swarmed the cart like wolves, one roasted chicken per person, tearing into them. Tiger Girl sat next to me, chewing her stolen drumstick, and got serious. I know you need guards. These guys know basic fighting. Enough for protecting a house. I'm handing them to you. I told her I came for her specifically, not just them. She looked down, eyes going dark for a second. If I follow you, you can't protect me. I've got problems I can't talk about. Then talk about them when you're ready, I said. I wrote that essay that shook the whole capital. The crown prince owes me a favor now. I can protect you. And if I can't, I'll use the prince's name to do it. You can't win by hiding forever. Come with me. She stared at me for a long time. You're different. When you were with us before, you were just a cocky idiot. Now you actually make sense. Are you really Tangen? I thumped my chest. I awakened. Now I'm terrifyingly strong. She agreed to join. After everyone ate, I took the whole group to a bathhouse. When they came out clean and in new clothes, I was impressed. Tiger Girl had trained them well. They had real spirit once they cleaned up. And Tiger Girl herself? In women's clothes instead of rags, she was stunning. Small, pretty face, long legs, slim waist, the right curves in the right places, pure youthful beauty. Stop staring, or I'll rip your eyes out and stomp on them. I flinched. That mouth of hers really ruined the whole package. Before heading home, I had one more stop. I took the group to dinner with the county clerk who'd sold me the temple property. I was going to give him a nice tip and a chance to earn some credit, because if Qin Rue's people really attacked tonight, I wanted the law on my side. I'd turn their ambush into a trap. Meanwhile, at the palace, the prince rushed in to see the emperor. But what he found almost broke him. The emperor was bedridden, skin stretched over bone, sunken eyes, fingers like dried twigs. The man who'd once stood 9 feet tall in armor, looking like a war god, was wasting away. The emperor coughed violently and snapped at the prince not to cry. Every emperor of Great Liang bleeds, but never weeps. You want those dogs to laugh at me? The prince pulled himself together and told his father he had good news. The Tungwen Academy was ready to open. But he also had something to show him. An essay and a couplet. He handed over his own handwritten copies of my preface to the Drunk Moon Tower and the couplet. He warned his father not to get too excited. While I was busy preparing for tonight's trouble, the prince was at the palace showing my work to the emperor. Princess Liang Lan was already there, feeding her father porridge. When she saw the title, Preface to the Drunk Moon Tower, her fingers trembled and she nearly dropped the bowl. She'd already figured out I was the author, and she realized the prince had beaten her to telling their father. Though technically, she thought, she'd gotten to me first. In a very different way, the emperor read through the essay. When he hit the lines about staying strong in old age and never abandoning ambition despite poverty, his pale face lit up. He loved the spirit of it. Then he read the couplet and the banner. The rise and fall of a nation is every man's responsibility. His fingers shook. That line hit him harder than anything else. If the whole country thought like that, the dynasty wouldn't be in the mess it was in, with corrupt officials running everything. He asked who wrote it, assuming it was some minister's brilliant son. The prince smiled and said the name. The former heir of the Yangon Marquis. Tang In, the emperor froze. Then his face turned dangerous. He'd been secretly monitoring me for over a decade because of that Taoist prophecy, that someone from the Qin family would help create an unprecedented golden age. But all he ever saw was a useless rich kid who drove every tutor insane. Those teachers had sworn they'd never teach another child again after dealing with me. The princess confirmed the essay was real. The prince insisted I'd been hiding my abilities all along, pretending to be worthless for years, and only revealing my talent now because being thrown out of the family forced me to survive. The emperor's breathing grew heavier and heavier. Then he went rigid and collapsed back onto his bed. The prince and princess panicked and called for doctors. But the emperor wasn't dying. He was furious. I don't need doctors. Bring me Tang In. I'll cut off his head. I'll execute his entire clan. I waited 13 years for him. I wasted away waiting. And he chose to be a lazy bum rather than help me. He deceived his emperor. The prince and princess understood the pain. Their father had clung to life all these years, hoping I'd become the savior the prophecy promised. His hair had turned white from waiting. But it wasn't really my fault. I'd never been told about any prophecy. And the emperor himself had insisted years ago that nobody interfere with my growth, that everything should happen naturally. The prince offered to go arrest me, but the emperor stopped him. Don't touch him. I'll deal with him personally. He tricked me for over a decade. I won't let him off easy. I'll make him wish he was dead. The prince and princess both felt chills. They hadn't seen their father this angry in years. The emperor kicked them out, then called for his old eunuch. He ordered someone to lie in his bed and impersonate him. He was leaving the palace. He dared deceive me for 13 years. Before I die, I'm going to make his life a living hell. The old eunuch dropped to his knees, terrified. Your Majesty, you can't. You're the son of heaven. It's too dangerous. The emperor kicked him. I'm about to die anyway. Can't I be reckless just once? The eunuch wanted to cry. Just once. Your Majesty, you've been reckless your entire life. Outside, the prince asked the princess why she'd stopped him from defending me. What if father goes too far and actually kills him? She glanced back at the palace and said hesitantly, Father should have some restraint. Probably. The prince stared at her. She didn't even sound convinced herself. Then the prince mentioned he'd invited me to her birthday banquet. She nearly tripped and fell flat on her face. She whipped around, eyes cold as ice. Did I ask you to meddle? The prince was completely confused. Why were both she and I reacting so strongly to a simple birthday party? Back at the Qin mansion, all hell broke loose when they saw Qin Rui's injuries. The Marquis, a massive, intimidating man, went ballistic. The mother started crying. Qin Rui played his part perfectly, insisting he'd just fallen down, while his sisters stood there wrestling with whether to tell the truth. Sitong couldn't hold back. She told their father everything. That I'd beaten Qin Rui, that I'd written the essay to steal his spotlight, that I'd sold a couplet to the prince. She said I'd gone insane and treated them all like enemies. The Marquis wanted to send men to drag me back immediately, but Sinon warned him the prince owed me a favor now. Acting against me could cause problems with the crown prince. So they hatched a plan. The grandmother would pretend to be gravely ill, and they'd use that to lure me home. Once inside, they'd seize me and punish me with family discipline. Qin Rui watched all of this, smiling on the outside. But in his head, he was already thinking, family discipline wouldn't be necessary. He'd handle things himself, tonight. He snuck out of the mansion and met with Southgate Leopard, the same thug who'd stabbed the original Tang and near the heart. Qin Rui got straight to business. How much to kill someone? 1,000 taels for a former Marquis heir. Guaranteed dead before sunrise. Qin Rui tossed the money over. Make it painful. Meanwhile, I was back at my place running a full military operation. I'd brought Tiger Girl and her whole crew home, and even though she alone could probably destroy Southgate Leopard's entire gang, I wasn't taking chances. I set up lookout posts, hidden positions, observation points, the whole Special Forces playbook. Tiger Girl thought I was overthinking it. Last time I saved you, I took on his whole street by myself. If he comes tonight, I'll make him regret being born. But I was too distracted watching her practice martial arts. She was unbelievable. Her body flickered east, west, up, down, leaving afterimages. Real-life kung fu made every action movie I'd ever seen look like amateur hour. These people didn't need special effects. They were the special effects. I begged her to teach me something. She scoffed and said she'd checked my body before. I had zero martial arts talent. That's why the old Tang had been so helpless. But I insisted. She sighed and taught me a breathing technique, an internal energy method. She said she'd spent 3 months just finding her chi sense and predicted it would take me 3 to 5 years minimum. I sat down, closed my eyes, and followed the instructions. Something strange happened. The technique felt natural, like it had always belonged to me. Within moments, I felt energy gathering in my core, my dantian burning hot. Tiger Girl was mid-sentence telling me to be patient when I opened my eyes and slammed my palm forward. The force blasted every fallen leaf in the yard into the air. Tiger Girl's jaw dropped. What I'd just done, releasing chi externally, had taken her over a year to achieve. I'd done it in minutes. Is this it? That was kind of easy, honestly. Guess I'm a martial arts genius. She beat the living hell out of me for that comment. Apparently that technique was her family's secret art, never taught to outsiders. Her father had used it to become the leader of the entire martial world. And I just called it kind of easy. I raised my hands in surrender. Joking. Just joking, Tiger sister. I'd get her back someday. Once I mastered that secret manual from the stone table, we'd see who was boss. Then Ah Bao came running in. Boss, Southgate Leopard is here. 15 guys with him. He's carrying a knife. They're definitely here to kill you. What do we do? I stood up and stretched. Finally, the guests of honor had arrived. I'd been waiting half the night. I snapped my fingers and told Ah Bao to get everyone into hiding positions. If Southgate Leopard saw my guys right away, he might get scared and run. And if he ran, my whole plan would fall apart. Tiger Girl was lounging around, complaining that this was all unnecessary. She could finish these guys in 3 moves. I told her she was thinking too small. Southgate Leopard was just a pawn. My real target was Qin Rue and the entire Yangon household. I was going to use tonight to start taking them apart, piece by piece. Being merciful to enemies was being cruel to yourself. She shrugged. You're the boss. Then she leaped up to the roof and lay down to watch the show. I dragged a chair to the front yard, sat down like a king, and told Rower to open the front gate. She swung it wide open, then grabbed a carrying pole and stood by my side. Minutes later, Southgate Leopard charged in with 15 guys, all carrying clubs. He had a big chopping blade that gleamed under the moonlight. They froze the moment they saw me. They'd expected us to be cowering and begging. Instead, I was sitting with my legs crossed, smiling at them like I'd been expecting room service. Little Leopard, welcome. Dark night, perfect for dying. Be smart. Get on your knees with your hands on your head. That way you'll die comfortably. Otherwise, I'll handle it personally, and you'll lose a few limbs first. They all burst out laughing. Was I the one killing them, or were they killing me? Southgate Leopard swung his blade onto his shoulder and mocked me. His boys howled with laughter. Then he spotted Rower. His eyes went green. He started making disgusting comments about her body, tearing at his own shirt, saying he couldn't control himself. He told her to give in to him tonight. I threw my chair at his face. He sliced it in half with his blade and grinned. Ooh, so close. Looks like this little girl means a lot to you. Don't worry. After I'm done with her, I'll let you have a turn before you die. Rower and I looked at each other and both facepalmed at the same time. Young master, she said, blinking her big eyes. Are they stupid? We left the gate wide open for them. It's obviously a trap. How can they not see it? Villains aren't known for their brains, I sighed. Forget it. Talking to them any longer will lower our IQ. I raised my voice. Boys, shut the door. Time to beat some dogs. The gate slammed shut. From the roof, the walls, and inside the rooms, my people burst out. Over a dozen of them, each holding an 8-foot wooden staff, all pointed at Southgate Leopard's crew. And leading them was a tall girl in a green dress, yawning as she floated down from the rooftop. The laughter died instantly. Every one of them stood there with their mouths open. An ambush? How? Who would dare back a reject from the Qin family? I put my arm on Ah Bao's shoulder and grinned at Southgate Leopard. So, little Leopard, my boys are here for you now. You want it in the face or somewhere else? Pick one. I've got all night. He tried to play it cool, puffing up his chest and announcing his name to intimidate my crew. I'm Southgate Leopard. Who are you people? Better tell me now so I know whose funeral to attend. Then Tiger Girl stepped forward, looking disgusted. Little leopard, I broke your hand last time, and you're still acting tough in front of me? Take a good look. Remember who I am. His face went white as a sheet. You're Tiger Girl? That crazy woman. Tiger Girl's expression turned ice cold. Crazy woman? He was about to find out just how crazy. Tiger Girl cracked her knuckles and told Southgate Leopard to repeat what he just called her. His face went green. He remembered what happened last time. She'd single-handedly fought through 200 beggars and tore apart an entire street. Now he only had 15 guys. He was finished. He instantly switched to groveling. Tiger bro. This is all a misunderstanding. I just came to congratulate Tang on his new home. I wagged my finger. If I hadn't shown my cards, you'd call this a misunderstanding? Come on, little leopard. Where's that energy from a minute ago? You were so brave talking about what you'd do to Rower. He snapped and cursed at me, screaming about going all out. Then Tiger Girl appeared in front of him like a ghost and slapped him across the face so hard he flew 8 meters through the air. Get them, Bao yelled, and my guys swarmed in. Southgate Leopard's crew had already gone weak in the knees after seeing their boss get launched. They didn't even fight back. My boys beat them senseless, screaming, crying, begging for mercy. Tiger Girl put her foot on Southgate Leopard's head and pinned him to the ground. She asked me what I wanted to do with him. I picked up a thick wooden stick and smiled. I told you earlier, both legs broken tonight. A man keeps his word. He finally realized I wasn't joking. He started sobbing and confessing everything. It was Qin Rue. He paid me to kill you. He paid 1,000 taels. I'll tell you everything. I didn't care about his confessions. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you're about to die. I don't do mercy with enemies. I swung the stick down on his leg. The bone snapped with a crack that echoed through the night. His scream could have woken the whole city. Then came part 2 of my plan. I started screaming at the top of my lungs. Help! Someone's breaking into my house. They're trying to kill me. Southgate Leopard stared at me in disbelief. That was supposed to be his line. Rower joined in, shrieking about someone trying to murder her young master. Even Tiger Girl and the guys cringed at how shameless I was. Right on schedule, a squad of constables rushed in through the gate, led by a chubby man with a mustache. Magistrate Wang Jian, the county clerk eyed. Treated to dinner earlier that day. Southgate Leopard crawled to Wang's feet, crying for help, bragging that he was working for Qin Rue of the Yangon Marquis household. Wang looked down at him, then kicked him in the face. You broke into a private home armed with weapons to commit murder, and you're crying to me for justice. Then Wang turned to me, all smiles and respect. Mr. Tang, I witnessed the whole thing clearly. If you wish to press charges, come to the courthouse tomorrow morning. I dropped my helpless act and chatted with him like old friends. We both knew what the other wanted without saying it directly. He wanted me to help him get promoted to county magistrate through my connection with the prince. I wanted him to go after Qin Rue using Southgate Leopard's confession as evidence. We traded careful hints wrapped in polite words until we had a deal. The constables dragged Southgate Leopard and his entire crew away. By tomorrow morning, they'd have a full written confession, including Qin Rue's name and the 1,000 taels he'd paid. Tiger Girl yawned as we watched them leave. That clerk was speaking in riddles the whole time. He wants you to help him become county magistrate. Yeah. If he's got the guts to actually go after Qin Rue, I'll help him. She snorted. Scholars and their mind games. Just say what you mean. I shook my head and started walking back. Then I tripped over something and nearly face-planted. I looked down and saw a skeleton-thin, middle-aged man slumped against the wall at the corner. Huh. Did we miss one? The man slumped against my wall was a scraggly, middle-aged guy in rags. Way too old to be one of Southgate Leopard's crew. Skin and bones, looked half dead. Hey old man, quit playing dead. I can see you breathing. I nudged his leg. He erupted into coughing, then grabbed my leg and wouldn't let go. You knocked me over, young man. You owe me. Take responsibility. Are you kidding me? Ancient China has scammers too? Get some dignity, old man. The constables haven't left yet. Let go or I'll have them haul you away. That made him more excited. Go ahead. Call them. He was practically daring me. What kind of scammer wants the cops involved? We went back and forth. He wouldn't let go. I dragged him along the ground, his arms wrapped around my leg like a barnacle. Tiger Girl strolled behind us, laughing her head off. I finally pried his hands off, jumped through my gate, and slammed it shut. I started walking away, but Tiger Girl mentioned the old man's lungs were rotting. he probably wouldn't survive the cold night. Not my problem, I said, but I couldn't do it. I'd carried my country's flag in my past life. I couldn't just let someone die on my doorstep. I went back outside and found this stubborn old fool trying to stack rocks against my wall to climb over. I nearly lost it. Fine, get in, but just one night. Tomorrow morning, you're gone. He marched through my gate with his chin up like he was doing me a favor. Being allowed to host me is your honor. Even if you beg me tomorrow, I won't stay. I almost kicked him. I'm the one helping you, you delusional old man. I slammed the door shut behind us. What I didn't know was that the moment that door closed, over 100 elite soldiers emerged from the shadows and surrounded my entire property. The old man I'd just taken. It was the emperor himself, Liang Di, who'd snuck out of the palace to personally mess with me for deceiving him for 13 years by pretending to be useless. Outside, the commander of the Imperial Guard stared at the closed gate in disbelief and asked the old eunuch what exactly the emperor was doing. The eunuch sighed. Mutual torment, perhaps. The commander wanted to scream. The emperor of the nation was lying on the street playing a scam artist and nearly got beaten up by a teenage beggar. You call that mutual torment? Inside, I examined the old man and got a real shock. He had severe lung disease, plus his blood wasn't producing properly, extreme anemia. The fact that he was alive at all was a miracle. While I was checking his feet for blood flow, he suddenly kicked me in the face, sending me sprawling. Then he put on an innocent look. Sorry, leg cramp. Cramp my ass. That was on purpose. I asked what I'd ever done to offend him. He made up some sob story about being a rich merchant from Sichuan whose son stole his fortune and abandoned him in the capital. Tiger Girl burst out laughing. You two must be long-lost relatives. You tell the exact same kind of terrible lies. Apparently my cover story when I'd first begged for her protection had been equally bad. The old man dabbed spit on his face to fake tears. I told him I didn't care about his story. One night, gone by morning, I told Tiger Girl to come with me to buy medicine. Whatever this old man's deal was, I didn't want him dying in my new house. Bad luck. As we walked out, the emperor, not that I knew who he was, stared at my back and smirked. Get him to leave? Fat chance. Getting a god into your house is easy. Getting him out? That's the hard part. If he couldn't make my life a living hell from the inside, then his years on the throne had been wasted. An hour later, I brought in the medicine I'd brewed. Rower was inside wiping black blood off the old man's face. He'd been coughing it up. He was curled into a ball in the corner of the bed like a shrimp. So thin, he looked no bigger than a baby. I swallowed my irritation and tried to be polite. Here, old man, drink this and you'll. He slapped the bowl out of my hand. Medicine everywhere. Bowl shattered. Rower puffed up her cheeks in anger. How can you be like this? My young master went out personally to buy the herbs and brew this himself. He's never taken care of anyone like this. You're so ungrateful. The old man just glared at me. So what? Did I ask for your help? My face went dark. In my past life, I'd studied medicine for special ops missions. I wasn't a miracle doctor, but I knew my stuff. I'd mixed a formula called moonflower pills, specifically for lung disease. Whether it worked depended on this old fool's luck. I poured another bowl. He sneered and started to say, if you want me to drink it, first you have to kneel. I kicked him flat on his back, climbed on top of him, pried his jaw open, and poured the medicine straight down his throat. Kneel to you? Who do you think you are? I'm saving your life, and you want me to beg? Is your brain broken? He tried to curse at me, but swallowed the medicine instead. I clamped my hand over his mouth and shook his head until every drop went down. Then I wiped my hand on his chest and left with Rower. She still went back to give him a blanket. That girl was too kind. Behind the closed door, I could hear him raging about killing me and executing my whole clan. Crazy old man. The next morning, the old man woke up and instinctively shouted for servants to come attend him, then caught himself, remembering he wasn't wherever he usually lived. He struggled to sit up and then froze. His whole body felt different. The crushing weight he'd carried for years was gone. His breathing was smooth. The disease that had been eating him alive felt like it had faded by 70 or 80% overnight. He couldn't believe it. Apparently hundreds of doctors and the rarest medicines in the world had failed him, but one bowl of my homebrew had done what nothing else could. He got so excited he jumped up and started dancing on the bed, spinning around like a fool. That's exactly when I walked in with my entire crew. We all stood there staring. Tiger Girl's jaw dropped. Rower covered her eyes. A skeleton-thin old man doing a victory dance on a creaky bed. It was the most cursed thing I'd ever witnessed. The old man saw us and turned red from head to toe. He grabbed a pillow and hurled it at the door. "Get out!" We burst out laughing. "Don't be shy, old man." Those moves were pretty smooth. Very professional. He looked like he wanted to dig a hole and bury himself alive. I leaned against the doorframe and reminded him of our deal. One night. "Time's up. Get out." His embarrassment instantly turned to fury. He pointed at my nose and declared that the dance was a special performance, and it came with a fee, 1 month of free lodging. This shameless old goat. I waved at Abao's crew. "Grab him and throw him out." They rolled up their sleeves and moved in. The old man panicked and yelled, "Money, I'll pay." I'd already figured out this guy wasn't ordinary. Even his raggedy clothes were made from expensive fabric worth hundreds of taels. So I held up one finger. 10,000 taels for rent. 10,000 for the medical treatment. "You've got 1 day to pay up." His eyes nearly popped out. You're scamming me?" I wagged my finger and grinned. "This is called giving you a taste of your own medicine. You tried to scam me first, remember? You're my idol when it comes to hustling. I learned from the best. What I didn't know was that my medicine had actually worked miracles overnight. The old man I'd force-fed that bowl of herbs to? He woke up feeling like a new person. Years of crippling lung disease, 70 or 80% gone in one night. He was jumping around on the bed celebrating when we walked in on him. After I kicked him out of my sight that morning, he secretly met with his people. Turns out the old eunuch and a military commander were hiding nearby. They were shocked to see him standing tall and energetic when just yesterday he could barely walk 2 steps. He told them the medicine worked, but he wasn't fully healed yet. He also refused to go back to wherever he came from. He wanted to stay and get revenge on me for some reason I still didn't understand. He ordered his people to bring 20,000 taels, 10,000 for rent, 10,000 for my medical fee. His men were stunned that I'd charged that much for a broken-down temple, but the old man paid without argument. He even muttered that compared to the snakes he usually dealt with, I was actually kind of cute. His people briefed him on some political crisis. A neighboring kingdom was under attack and needed military help. Refugees were flooding into the capital causing riots, and some prime minister was trying to kick all the beggars out of the city to impress visiting diplomats. The old man handled it all with sharp, decisive orders, seeing through every scheme instantly. He clearly wasn't some random merchant. But I had no idea about any of this. I had my own business to handle. I took Rower, Tiger Girl, and the whole crew straight to the county courthouse. Magistrate Wong was ready, just as we'd planned. The courtroom was set up with bailiffs in 2 rows, all holding punishment sticks, looking intimidating. Wong sat behind the judge's desk with a stern face. I dabbed some spit on my face for fake tears and threw myself on the ground wailing. "Your Honor, I have a terrible injustice to report. Please help this humble citizen." Wong played along perfectly. "Who kneels before me? State your grievance," I sobbed dramatically. "I'm here to accuse Qin Rue, the young lord of the Yangon Marquis household. He hired assassins to kill me, and his men tried to assault my wife." I gave Rower the signal. She dropped to her knees, clutched her chest, and wailed about wanting to die from the shame and humiliation. She was crying her heart out on the outside, but I could see her grinning ear to ear underneath. She definitely caught the part where I called her my wife. Tiger Girl and the gang turned away, pretending they didn't know us. Can't blame them. Even I knew we were laying it on thick. A crowd gathered outside. People recognized me as the former heir who'd been kicked out of the Yangon household. The former heir is suing the real heir? This is going to be good. Wong slammed his gavel and made a show of warning me that false accusations against a noble family carried severe punishment. I thumped my fist on the ground and declared every word was true. I'd take full responsibility. Wong slammed the gavel again. "Very well. Officers, follow me to the Yangon Marquis mansion to arrest Qin Rue." The bailiffs roared in unison and marched out behind Wong, heading straight for the Qin family's front door. The counterattack had officially begun. I showed up at the Qin family's front gate just in time to hear them talking trash about me. Perfect timing. A carriage had just arrived carrying a gorgeous girl in a purple dress. Yulinin, 17 or 18, drop-dead beautiful. She used to be my fiancée. Now she was Qin Rue's. She was playing the concerned future wife, dabbing at Qin Rue's bruises with a handkerchief, acting shocked that anyone would dare hurt him. The Marquis was ranting about what an ungrateful wolf I was. Qin Rue was doing his usual act, defending me, shaking his head, saying it was all just a misunderstanding. That made the mother cry into the Marquis's chest, and Sinan silently fumed about why I couldn't be half as considerate as precious Qin Rue. Yulinin was putting on a show too, demanding they go find me and make me apologize. Something about her tone felt oddly familiar though, like I'd heard that kind of performance before. Then they all turned around and saw me standing right there in the doorway, smiling. Looking for me? No need to trouble yourselves. I'm here. They all froze. The Marquis, the mother, Sinan, Yulinin. They stared at me like they were seeing a ghost. I looked different now. Clean clothes, confident posture, a smile that was the same as the old Tang An's, but carried something completely foreign behind it. Yulinin's heart seemed to skip. She'd thrown me away, but seeing me now, standing there looking sharp and self-assured, something flickered across her face. Qin Rue's eyes narrowed. Southgate Leopard had failed, and I'd come to his front door. I pointed at them all and grinned. Didn't anyone teach you not to gossip about people behind their backs? Getting caught is very embarrassing. Then the mother ran at me. She threw her arms around me and started sobbing into my chest. My baby, you're so thin. You must have suffered so much. Mommy's so sorry. Something lurched inside me. Maybe it was the original Tang An's feelings bleeding through. My heart skipped, and for just a second my smile froze. If the real Tang An had heard these words a few days earlier, he probably would have collapsed into her arms and cried about everything he'd been through. But he never got that chance. He died without hearing a single word of concern from any of them. And now, listening to her sweet talk, my stomach turned. Every loving word felt like someone shoving a fly into my mouth. She reached for my face. I jerked away, covering my mouth, stumbling back 4 or 5 steps. Hey, Mrs. Qin, please have some self-respect. I might throw up. Can we skip the emotional drama? Your idea of deep family love makes me physically sick. She stood there, stunned. The whole yard went silent. What? What did you just call me? Her voice was trembling. Didn't hear me? I'll say it again. I bowed politely. My name is Tang and pleased to meet you, Mrs. Qin. She nearly collapsed. Her own son, the boy who used to cling to her, had just called her a stranger's formal title. She buried herself in the Marquis's arms, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. The Marquis pointed at me, face dark as thunder. She raised you. She's your mother. And you call her Mrs. Qin? Get on your knees and apologize right now. Sinan grabbed my arm, whispering desperately. Stop this. Yulinin is here. She's Qin Rue's fiancée now. Don't embarrass our family in front of outsiders. I peeled her fingers off my arm one by one, smiling the whole time. Miss Qin, we may know each other, but don't pretend we're related. That's your family's embarrassment, not mine. Honestly, I'm enjoying the show. I flicked my wrist and pushed her away. She stumbled backward. Qin Rue rushed to catch her, then turned to me with practiced anger on his face. Brother, what do you want? If you have a problem, take it out on me. Leave mother and big sister alone. I squinted at him. Oh look, the little drama queen was back on stage. I started clapping slowly, giving Qin Rue a big thumbs up. Wow, what a noble, selfless little brother you are. I'm truly so moved. Then I kicked him in the chest and sent him flying 3 meters. The Marquis, the mother, and Sinan all screamed and rushed to his side. But I noticed Yulinin, my ex-fiancée, just standing there with her fists clenched, staring at me with wide eyes. She was trying to figure out when the obedient puppy who used to follow her around had turned into this. I shook out my leg and smiled apologetically at Qin Rue. Sorry about that. Forgot to mention, my leg has an automatic fake detector built in. I tried to hold back, but it just went off on its own. Qin Rue was seething inside but couldn't drop his gentle act. His old trick of playing the saint used to make the family turn against the original Tang, and every time. Now he was the one getting kicked, while having to smile through it. Yulinin stepped up, trying to play the protective fiancé. What gives you the right to hit him? He's my future husband. Touching him is challenging me. I cut her off with a beckoning gesture. Challenging you? So what? Want to fight me? This woman had a gorgeous face, the prettiest in the capital, no argument there. But that was her only good quality. She was a top-tier manipulator who'd trained the old Tang and into a desperate lovesick fool. When he got thrown out of the family and begged her for help, she wouldn't even see him. Just sent a maid to say their engagement was over. Cherish yourself. I blew on my palm and grinned at her. My hand also has an automatic fake detector. You just said you wanted to settle things with me? Come on then. I'm right here. She looked at me, sizing up her cheek, and something in her eyes shifted to fear. She could tell. If she stepped any closer, I'd actually slap her across the face without hesitation. You animal. Grab him. The Marquis finally exploded. A dozen household guards rushed in to surround me. I cracked my neck and stared him down. Getting physical already? Your self-control needs work, Marquis. I may not know much about fighting, but I do have people. I raised my voice. Boys, it's showtime. Right on cue, a squad of constables came pouring through the front gate. I stood at the front gate the whole time, never stepped 1 foot inside the Qin mansion. And the Qin family had stayed in the courtyard, so they hadn't noticed what was waiting outside. When the constables charged in, everyone froze. The Marquis recovered first, barking at them. Who gave you the guts to cause trouble in a first-rank military Marquis household? Wang Jian strolled in calmly, bowed, and introduced himself as the acting county magistrate. Your son Qin Rue is suspected of plotting to murder Tang'an. I need to take him back for investigation. If you have a problem with that, you can file a complaint with the Ministry of Personnel or the Censorate, or report me directly to the Emperor. But right now, I'd advise you not to make this difficult. If it comes to a fight, that's resisting the law, and that won't end well for you. He waved his hand. Officers, take Qin Rue to the courthouse. 2 constables grabbed Qin Rue and started dragging him out. His face was pure shock. He'd always thought he controlled everything. He never imagined the waste he'd thrown away would show up at his front door with the law. What was killing him even more, his whole family was just standing there in a daze while he got hauled off. He had to prompt them himself, disguising it as reassurance. Father, Mother, don't worry. I'm just cooperating with an investigation. It has nothing to do with me. That snapped them out of it. The mother grabbed the Marquis' arm, panicking. Save Qin Rue. Hurry. Sinan begged their father to help. Even Yu Linen stepped up with her Ice Queen act, demanding to know who gave these nobodies permission to arrest someone here. The Marquis glared at Wang Jian. A 7th-rank county magistrate dares arrest someone in my house. I don't need the ministry to deal with you. Release my son, or you won't leave this mansion alive. Wang Jian stopped walking. He glanced up at me, then turned back to the Marquis with a mocking smile. I'm taking him today. If the Marquis wants to fight, we can fight. But here's something interesting. I told you that your son is suspected of trying to murder Tang'an. Every single person in this family immediately worried about Qin Rue. Did anyone, even once, ask whether Tang'an was all right? Those words landed like slaps across every face in that yard. Complete silence. He was right. Wang Jian had clearly said I was the murder victim, but their instinct, every single one of them, had been to protect Qin Rue. Whether he'd actually tried to kill someone didn't seem to matter. And these were the same people who'd just been hugging me, crying about how much they missed me. The mother turned to me, stammering. That's not. I didn't mean. I put my hands behind my head and turned to leave. No need to explain, Mrs. Qin. The day is young. You'll have plenty of time to explain at the courthouse. She chased after me a few steps, tears streaming. You can't do this. Qin Rue is your brother. You'll ruin him. I kept walking. I didn't even look back. Brother? If I had a brother like that, I'd already be dead. Behind me, the Marquis was comforting his wife, insisting Qin Rue was too gentle to hurt an ant. The mother nodded through her tears, agreeing it must be me causing trouble again. Sinan stared at my back with disappointment. Yu Linen watched me leave with cold fury. Her former lapdog had just barked at her in front of everyone. At the courthouse, a huge crowd had gathered. People couldn't believe Magistrate Wang had actually arrested the young lord of a first-rank military household. Everyone was betting I'd lose. Wang Jian took his seat, slammed the gavel, and called for order. He looked at Qin Rue. You stand accused of hiring someone to murder Tang'an. How do you plead? Qin Rue smiled and shook his head calmly. Your Honor, this is just a joke my brother is playing. Murder? That's ridiculous. Then he turned to me with the most perfectly crafted expression, weary, forgiving, gentle. He sighed. Brother, I understand you're angry that I came back and took what you think belongs to you. But can't we handle family matters at home instead of dragging it to court? He even bowed to me. The ultimate humble pose. A picture of a saint being persecuted by a jealous older brother. My lip twitched. His tea-serving skills were absolutely world-class. In a few sentences, he'd made himself the victim and me the petty villain, in front of a crowd of hundreds. The Marquis ate it up instantly. Qin Rue, stop wasting time on this trash. Let him show his evidence. If he can't, I'll deal with him myself. Perfect. I gave the Marquis a thumbs up. The Marquis wants to punish his own son with his own hands? I'm happy to help make that happen. I turned to Wang Jian. Bring in the witness. Wang slammed the gavel. Bring in the prisoner. Southgate Leopard. Qin Rue's fingers twitched slightly at the name. But he quickly regained composure and shot me a smug look. He thought he could make the witness turn on me instead. They dragged Southgate Leopard in, bloody and broken. The moment he hit the floor and saw Qin Rue, he lunged toward him like a drowning man grabbing a lifeline. Young Lord Qin, save me. I did everything you ordered. I went to kill Tang, and just like you told me to. You can't abandon me. Please, save me. Dead silence. The entire crowd outside went quiet. The Marquis's face turned to stone. The mother's eyes went wide. Sinan clapped her hand over her mouth. Even Yu Linen, hiding in the crowd, narrowed her eyes. Qin Rue himself froze. He'd planned to signal Southgate Leopard to flip the story before he talked, but the idiot had blurted out the truth the second he saw him. Then the crowd outside erupted. Wait, is this real? Qin Rue actually sent someone to kill Tangan. People started connecting dots. Think about it. Tangan could come back and reclaim everything. Qin Rue killed to protect his position. The theories flew fast. Wang Jian almost slammed his gavel to restore order, but I shook my head slightly. Let the chaos grow. The bigger the scandal, the better. I rubbed my face and put on my best innocent, pitiful look. Gosh, he's right. I should have kept this in the family. Someone tries to murder me, and I should just let it happen. How silly of me to report it. I'm so inconsiderate. Zero family loyalty. The crowd's faces were twitching. Everyone could see I was being sarcastic, but the point landed. Qin Rue had literally tried to have me killed, and his family's first instinct had been to protect him. The Marquis's face went dark. Qin Rue, what is the meaning of this? The mother started crying. Did you really send someone to hurt your brother? Even Sinan was studying Qin Rue with suspicion for the first time. Qin Rue saw the doubt spreading and felt a flash of panic. But he recovered fast, looked down at Southgate Leopard with cold authority, and said, Southgate Leopard, was it? I don't recall ever meeting you. Why are you framing me? Unless someone tortured you into lying about me? Qin Rue was confident. He figured a greedy lowlife like Southgate Leopard would flip sides the moment he dangled some benefits. After all, Qin Rue was the Marquis's heir, and I was just the family's thrown-out trash. Anyone with half a brain would know who to back. Southgate Leopard did hesitate for a second, but I wasn't about to let Qin Rue steal my witness. I strolled up to Southgate Leopard with my friendliest smile, the same smile I'd worn while breaking his legs last night. That's right, little leopard. Think very carefully before you speak. Make sure you tell the truth. Of course, you're welcome to lie if you think you can handle the consequences. He looked at my face and nearly wet himself. He shook his head frantically. No, I'm telling the truth. Qin Rue gave me 1,000 taels yesterday to kill Tangan. The Marquis lost it. He kicked Southgate Leopard to the ground and stepped on his throat, murder in his eyes. Who gave you permission to frame my son? I jumped 3 feet in the air, pointing at the Marquis. Your Honor, he's trying to silence the witness. He's killing him right in court. The Marquis froze, trembling with rage. I stood there looking righteous and reminded him this was a courtroom and that threatening witnesses was a crime. Wang Jian was glaring at me too. I'd basically stolen all his lines. Qin Rue stepped in smooth as silk. He pulled his father back, smiled calmly, and even helped Southgate Leopard up off the ground. Then, I couldn't believe this. He took off his own cloak and draped it over the man's shoulders. You say I hired you. Do you have proof? The crowd outside instantly softened toward him. What a kind young man. Surely he couldn't be a murderer. Sinan looked at me with even deeper disappointment. In her mind, this gentle, selfless brother couldn't possibly do anything evil. But I could. Absolutely. Even I had to admit his performance was flawless. My palms were itching to slap him. Southgate Leopard mentioned the 1,000 taels as evidence, but Qin Rue shook his head with a patient smile. Silver notes don't prove anything. Anyone could have given you that money and told you to blame me. Southgate Leopard's eyes went red. He could see it clearly. If Qin Rue denied everything, he'd be the one who died. So he made his move. He turned and kowtowed to Wang Jian. Your Honor, I have physical evidence hidden away. Please send someone to retrieve it. Wang dispatched a constable immediately. Qin Rue's face flickered. Physical evidence? He'd only given Southgate leopard money. What else could there possibly be? He figured I must have planted fake evidence. He turned to me with that exhausted, long-suffering look. Brother, please stop this. You're only hurting father and mother and big sister. My skin crawled so hard I jumped backward. Don't come near me. I'm going to throw up. I grabbed one of the punishment sticks and rested it on my shoulder. You better pray that evidence doesn't nail you. By the way, Your Honor, what's the sentence for attempted murder? Wang Jian answered. For commoners, exile. For someone with a noble title, 30 strikes with the rod. My eyes lit up. I spat into my palms and rubbed them together. Your Honor, when the time comes, I'd like to deliver those 30 strikes personally. Qin Rue's smile froze solid. 1 incense stick later, the head constable came back and knelt before the court. He'd found something at the location Southgate leopard described, a jade pendant. White, ring-shaped, one of a kind. The moment Qin Rue saw it, his face went pale. His hand shot to his waist, empty. The pendant was gone. The Marquis' expression darkened. The mother and Sinan both recognized it instantly and stepped back. Sinan herself had bought that pendant from the most exclusive jeweler in the capital. There was only one like it in the entire city. Southgate leopard pointed at it and shouted, That's it. I pickpocketed off Qin Rue yesterday when he came to hire me. That's the proof. He was there. Your Honor, that's the evidence. Sinan's lips were trembling. She recognized the jade pendant. She'd bought it for Qin Rue herself. Could he really have done this? Wang Jian asked Qin Rue directly if it was his pendant. Qin Rue put on a surprised face and said yes, but claimed he'd lost it days ago. Someone must have found it and used it to frame him. Just a pendant couldn't prove anything. I crossed my arms and smiled. Lost it days ago? Funny. It was hanging on your belt yesterday when I beat you up. It even fell on the ground. And Miss Qin picked it up and put it back on you herself. I looked at Sinan. Right, Miss Qin? Wang Jian turned to her. Miss Qin, answer honestly. Was this pendant on Qin Rue yesterday? Sinan's face went through a war of emotions. She knew the truth. She'd personally reattached that pendant to Qin Rue's waist after it fell during our fight. But if she confirmed it, Qin Rue's murder charge would be sealed. He was the family's future. One stain could ruin everything. Then Qin Rue walked over and took her hand with a gentle smile. Big sister, just tell the truth. If it helps bring brother home, I don't mind suffering a little. That did it. Her eyes went red. Such a selfless boy couldn't possibly be a murderer. There must be some misunderstanding. She looked at me, guilt flickering across her face, then bit down hard and said, Your Honor, I can confirm the pendant was lost several days ago. She lied. Under oath. For Qin Rue. The crowd erupted. See? It was lost. Tang and is framing him. People started turning against me. Qin Rue shot me a triumphant look. Even with evidence, nobody in the Qin family would help me. He had them all wrapped around his finger. I wasn't surprised. I'd expected this from Sinan. Annoyed? A little. But I planned for it. The Marquis stepped forward, demanding Wang Jian drop the case and let the family handle it internally. Wang Jian looked at me nervously. Was this really under control, like I'd promised? I pointed my thumb at myself and gave him a reassuring look. I don't have more physical evidence, but I do have another witness. I turned to the crowd outside and bowed. Miss Shen, since you're here, no point hiding. If you don't come out soon, I'm in real trouble. A seductive laugh floated from the crowd. Oh, Mr. Tang, you're hardly in trouble. I've been watching you lead the Qin family into a trap step by step. You're ruthless, but I like it. The crowd parted. Shun Hongxiu walked out in her red dress, every step oozing elegance, her figure turning every head in the courthouse. Dead silence. Then chaos. That's Shun Hongxiu, the owner of Drunk Moon Tower. She's testifying for Tangin. I believe Tangin now. Don't ask me why. I just do. The Qin family's faces changed instantly. They knew exactly who stood behind Shun Hongxiu, the crown prince. The Marquis tried to intervene. Miss Shun, this is a family matter. Please stay out of it. She strolled up beside me, tilted my chin up with one finger, and smiled. See that, Mr. Tang? Someone doesn't want me to testify, but unlike Miss Qin over there, I don't lie with my eyes open. That line turned Sinan's face bright red. Then Shin Hongxiu addressed the court. Your Honor, I can confirm the pendant was on Qin Rue yesterday. And it's not just me. The Crown Prince and 2 Imperial Academy scholars can confirm the same thing. And if necessary, I can also bring in civilians who saw Qin Rue meeting with Southgate Leopard yesterday. She turned to the Marquis with a dangerous smile. Are you sure you want to push this further? Shin Hongxiu didn't hold back one bit. She'd been watching from outside the whole time, seeing exactly how the Qin family treated me. The crowd's opinion flipped instantly. The Crown Prince can vouch for it. Then it's definitely true. Qin Rue looked like such a gentleman. Turns out he's a total fraud. People started throwing around the word hypocrite. The Marquis's face went dark. He kicked Qin Rue to the ground. You really sent someone to kill your own brother? Who gave you the nerve? Qin Rue's eyes flashed with murderous rage for a split second, but nobody caught it. He was furious. How could someone as worthless as me have the Crown Prince backing me up? And Shin Hongxiu, that woman, she'd pay for this someday. I cut him off before he could spin another story. Don't bother with the act. Unless you're saying the Crown Prince and I are conspiring together to frame you, go ahead, accuse the prince. That's treason, punishable by execution of your entire clan. And then the case gets handed to the Imperial Secret Police. Think your family can survive that investigation? That shut him up. The Marquis went pale too. The secret police investigating meant every skeleton in every closet would come out. No noble family could survive that kind of scrutiny. The mother and Sinan rushed to shield Qin Rue, begging the Marquis to calm down, insisting there must be a misunderstanding. Qin Rue lowered his head. When he looked up, his face was perfectly composed. Calm, regretful, noble. Father, mother. I admit it. I did send people after brother. Everyone froze. But not to kill him. Big sister went to bring him home 3 times, and he refused. He even set up his own household. I just wanted Southgate Leopard to pressure him, so he'd have nowhere else to go and would come home on his own. I wanted our family to be together again. He kowtowed to the Marquis, then turned and kowtowed to me. Brother, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Unbelievable. Even with all the evidence piled against him, this guy managed to tea ceremony his way out. His whole speech boiled down to one thing. I tried to kill you, but it was for your own good. Something inside me snapped. Your Honor, he just confessed. I'm starting the punishment now. I swung the rod down on his back before anyone could react. He screamed and collapsed flat. Then I went to town, blow after blow, raining down like a storm. Killing me for my own good? Then I'm beating you for your own good. Big brother disciplining his idiot little brother. Perfectly natural. Don't you dare say this isn't love? Feel that? That's brotherly affection. You like it? He scrambled across the floor like a dog, screaming, but I kept swinging. By the time anyone snapped out of their shock and tried to stop me, I'd already landed about 20 hits. Qin Rue was lying on the ground twitching, foaming at the mouth. The Marquis lunged at me with a kick, but Shin Hongxiu grabbed my waist and pulled me aside. His foot hit nothing but air. The mother threw herself over Qin Rue's body, wailing. Sinan spread her arms in front of him, glaring at me. Are you insane? You want to kill him? I tossed the rod to a constable and shrugged. Attempted murder, 30 strikes. That's the law. I only did 20, and he's already down. Disappointing. I thought his backbone would be as strong as his acting skills. Sinan's face was ice cold. When will you ever be half as considerate as Qin Rue? The mother looked up at me from the floor, clutching Qin Rue, tears streaming. Didn't you hear? He did it for your sake. You misunderstood him. Please stop this. The Marquis stared at me like he wanted to kill me on the spot. Even now, even after everything, they were still defending him, still blaming me. I'd gotten what I came for. Time to drop the act. I laughed coldly. Trying to kill me for my own good. The Qin family's love is truly something I can't handle. I turned to face the crowd of spectators and clasped my hands in a formal bow. Everyone here, please be my witnesses. From this day forward, I, Tang Yin, have nothing to do with the Qin family. Whether they rise or fall, live or die, it's none of my business. Thank you all for watching today's show. The crowd exploded. He's cutting ties with a first-rank military household on a public courthouse stage. Some called me crazy, but most people cheered. That family tried to murder him and still blamed him for it. He should absolutely walk away. The Marquis was shaking with rage. Decades of carefully built reputation destroyed in one afternoon. The mother went pale. She never imagined I'd say something so final in front of hundreds of people. Sinan rushed forward, trying to grab my arm. Don't say that. I'll always be your sister. Father and mother will always. I stepped back before she could touch me. My smile was warm. My eyes were ice. Miss Jean, please have some dignity. I've made myself perfectly clear. I thanked Wang Jian publicly, complimenting his courage and hinting he deserved a promotion. He'd been annoyed that I'd basically run his entire trial for him, but my flattery smoothed things over. Then I turned to Shun Hongxiu. Thanks to you too. Shall we go? It's getting late. Perfect time for a stroll. She rolled her eyes but followed, and we bantered our way out the door, flirting, teasing, laughing. I could feel the Qin family's eyes on my back the entire time. Sinan pressed her hand to her chest, feeling something important slipping away and not knowing how to stop it. The Marquis stood frozen, angry, but with memories of the old days flickering through his mind. Chasing the original Tang and around the yard with a stick, the kids' howling laughter, the chaos that made the house feel alive. Since he left, the mansion had been quiet. Too quiet. The mother had braced herself for me to scream at her, to demand why she'd been so unfair. She'd prepared her arguments, but I never even looked at her. That hurt worse than any accusation. They all realized the same thing at once. The beating, the trial, the public humiliation of Qin Rue. None of that was the real point. The point was the public declaration. Cutting ties, permanently, in front of the whole city. Yulinen positioned herself right in the center of the doorway as I walked out, clearly expecting me to notice her. I walked past her like she was invisible. She tried to reach for my sleeve, but I'd already sidestepped, didn't even try to hide the disgust on my face. She stood there, frozen, burning with humiliation. The capital's #1 beauty, used to men falling over themselves for her attention, and I'd treated her like air. Qin Rue had woken up by now, watching me walk away with Shun Hongxiu, untouched and triumphant. His hatred boiled over. He swore he'd repay today's humiliation 1,000 times. Then his weak voice called out, "Mother, father, big sister." They all snapped back to reality and rushed to his side. Even now, beaten half to death, he kept performing. Don't blame brother. It's my fault for not handling things well. The Marquis scooped him up. Shut up. Stop defending that animal. Let's go home and treat your injuries. The autumn exams are coming. That's what matters. But Sinan, for the first time, bit her lip and said nothing. Before today, she'd always found Qin Rue's selflessness touching. Now, after everything she'd seen, she was starting to wonder if her little brother was really as simple as he appeared. Wang Jian looked around his empty courtroom and sighed. He'd held a whole trial, and the only person he actually sentenced was Southgate Leopard. Verdict: exile. Meanwhile, at the princess's mansion, Liang Lan put down her calligraphy brush. Her maid brought news. Zhao Zhong, the prime minister's son who'd arranged her drugging, would be hosting a banquet at Drunk Moon Tower tonight. Her eyes went cold. Prepare. We're killing him. After the trial, I treated everyone to a meal. We walked down the street, me in front with Shun Hongxiu, Tiger Girl, and Rower flanking me. 3 beautiful women at my side, turning every head on the block. My boys were going over the trial, marveling at how shameless I'd been. I told them it was strategy. Let the enemy get cocky, then crush them. Tiger Girl rolled her eyes. Shen Hongxiu just kept laughing that bewitching laugh of hers. We reached Drunk Moon Tower, and I spotted an armored carriage with military escorts parked out front. Someone important. Shun Hongxiu smiled and said her friend had arrived, and she wanted to introduce us. My gut clenched. Please don't be who I think it is. The carriage curtain lifted. A woman in white stepped out, cold, regal, devastatingly beautiful. Princess Liang Lan, the woman who'd pinned me down and had her way with me. I did an immediate about-face and started walking the other direction. Look, young master. It's Princess Yunyang, Rower shouted excitedly. The girl who'd been there the night this woman conquered me. I froze, then slowly turned around. Everyone was staring at me, confused. I slapped my hand over Rower's mouth before she could say anything else catastrophic. Her Highness is so important, we shouldn't risk offending her, I said with the most forced smile of my life. Offending? The princess's icy voice cut through the air. Haven't you offended me enough already? My body literally flinched. After what she did to me that night, her voice triggered an involuntary physical reaction. And the way she said, offend, That word meant something very different between us. I gathered my dignity. Your Highness, let's be honest about who offended whom. I was clearly the one who got offended. Her fingertips trembled slightly. She turned to Shen Hongxiu and said coldly that she should be more careful about the company she keeps. I fired back. Exactly right, Miss Shen. Be careful who claims to be your friend. Shen Hongxiu's eyes narrowed, watching us go at each other. There's a story here. You two know each other. Me? Know a discarded nobody like him? Hardly. The princess scoffed. Me? Know a famous black widow? I wouldn't dare. I shot back. Everyone around us was giving us weird looks. For two people who didn't know each other, we sure had a lot of hostility. Then a new voice interrupted. Well, if it isn't the princess and the lovely Miss Shen. Is this fellow bothering you? I'd be happy to help. A guy in fancy brown silk robes strolled over, twirling a fan, with a dozen armed guards behind him. I recognized him from the original Tang and's memories. Zhao Zheng, the prime minister's son. The worst scumbag in the entire capital. The old Tang and had been called a troublemaker, but compared to Zhao Zheng, he was a saint. This guy kidnapped women, murdered people, and got away with everything because his father ran the government. 2 months ago, he'd snatched a village girl. When her parents reported it, the entire village, over 200 people, was wiped out overnight. The official report blamed bandits within 300 miles of the capital. Nobody dared question it. 300 lives, gone. He bowed to the princess with fake respect, then turned to me with a smirk. Oh dear, you've angered the princess and Miss Shen? How careless. Next life, try to be smarter. He snapped his fingers. One of his guards drew a sword and thrust it at my throat. No warning. No reason. Just casual murder attempt in broad daylight. How dare you? 3 voices rang out at once. Tiger Girl, the princess, and Shen Hongxiu all stepped in front of me simultaneously. Tiger Girl kicked the guard's blade away before it reached my skin. The princess's own guards drew their weapons and surrounded us. Zhao Zheng raised an eyebrow, still smiling. Princess, Miss Shen, I was trying to help you. Why are you protecting him? This puts me in an awkward position. Zhao Zheng shrugged like he'd done nothing wrong. But I could see the murder in the princess's eyes. This was the guy who'd drugged her that night. If she hadn't escaped in time, who knows what would have happened to her? Kill him, she ordered coldly. Her maid grabbed a sword and launched at Zhao Zheng. His guard intercepted, and the two of them clashed in a blur, over a dozen exchanges in seconds. Both sides' guards squared off, weapons drawn. I was stunned. This guy was a minister's son, technically a subject, and he had his men facing off against a princess's royal guards? Did he think he was untouchable? Shen Hongxiu stepped in front of the princess. Zhao Zheng, are you rebelling? He smiled and leaned in close, speaking low enough that only we could hear. Princess, let's not make this ugly. Sure, I drugged you that night, but nothing happened in the end, right? My father is Zhao Qua. Kill me, and he'll turn the whole kingdom upside down. My blood went ice cold. So this was the bastard behind everything. He drugged the princess. She fled in a panic, ended up at my place, and took me by force because the drug was still in her system. Everything that happened to me that night, it was because of him. Then the idiot leaned even closer and licked his lips. How about today? Let me handle both of you at once. 2 long legs kicked out simultaneously. The princess and Shen Hongxiu both nailed him, sending him flying 8 meters. His friends rushed to help him up. He started playing victim immediately, shouting that he'd only been trying to help deal with me, and the princess had attacked him for no reason. His cronies backed him up, painting him as the innocent party. It was all calculated. Even if this went to court, he'd have witnesses saying he was the victim. The princess was about to order a full attack. That's when I stepped in and grabbed her arm. Can't you see? He's baiting you. He wants you to strike first so it looks like you're the aggressor. If your guards draw blood, this becomes a political incident. I looked her in the eye. If I do it, it's just a street fight between young nobles. No big deal. Besides, he's asking for a beating. It would be rude not to oblige. Both women stared at me in shock. I was stepping up against the prime minister's son? I was nobody, a discarded heir with no power, no backing. Pissing off Zhao Zheng could get me killed without anyone even investigating. Zhao Zheng laughed in my face. He grabbed my collar and sneered. You? What are you? A piece of trash the Qin family threw out. You think you can threaten me? Do you even qualify? I held up 3 fingers. I'll count to 3. Get on your knees and apologize to the princess and Miss Shun. Otherwise, you deal with the consequences. He turned to his friends, howling with laughter. Look at this. The great Tangan thinks he's somebody again. He's actually threatening me. They all roared with laughter. I curled my 3 fingers into a fist. 3. One word, cold as ice. Then I smashed my fist into his face. He stumbled backward. I sprinted forward, jumped, and drove a flying punch into his forehead. He face-planted into the dirt. Zhao Zheng disrespected a princess in public. Unforgivable. I sat on top of him and hammered his face, punch after punch. Boys, teach his friends what happens when they run their mouths. Tiger Girl and Ah Bao's crew charged in and started destroying Zhao Zheng's cronies. His armed guards couldn't intervene. The princess's soldiers had them pinned. If they drew first blood, none of them would leave alive. The princess and Shun Hongxiu watched with wide eyes. They couldn't believe I'd actually done it. Attacked the prime minister's son in broad daylight. The princess especially. Something shifted in her expression as she watched me sitting on top of Zhao Zheng, swinging away. For the first time in years, a man had stepped in front of her and fought for her. Shun Hongxiu glanced at the princess. Those punches look personal. Do those two have history? The princess's lips curved slightly. Yes, they have a grudge. She was right. Zhao Zheng had drugged her, which led to her taking my virginity by force. He was the root cause of everything. This grudge? It was massive. I went all out on Zhao Zheng. Every punch carried old grudges and new ones. He tried to fight back, but years of drinking and women had hollowed him out. He was no match. I grabbed his arm, flipped him over my shoulder, and slammed him into the ground. The whole crowd flinched. His rich kid friends went down even faster. Tiger Girl and my crew flattened them in seconds. Some were screaming about their fathers being officials. Nobody cared. Shun Hongxiu was worried about me. She told the princess that I'd be in serious trouble. Zhao Zheng could easily have me killed afterward. The princess just turned her head away. If he's dumb enough to pick this fight without being able to handle the consequences, that's his problem. Shun Hongxiu pulled me off Zhao Zheng before I actually killed him. He scrambled away on all fours. When people got a good look at his face, the whole street went silent, then erupted in laughter. His face was a swollen, bloody mess. Bumps the size of baby fists on his forehead and around his eyes. His nose was nearly flat. The infamous, little tyrant of the capital looked like he'd been mauled by a bear. People were cheering. This guy had terrorized the city for years, and someone had finally beaten the arrogance out of him. Zhao Zheng was screaming that he'd kill me, make me beg for death. I rolled up my sleeves and walked toward him again. He flinched and jumped back like a scared cat. I grabbed 2 swords from the princess's guards, tossed one at Zhao Zheng's feet, and kept the other. You want me dead? Then pick up the sword and fight me. 1-on-1. No rules. If you win, I'm dead. If you lose, you're dead. Or if you don't have the guts, get on your knees and apologize to the princess and Miss Shun. Then get lost. Pick one. He stared at the sword on the ground. I could see the fear in his eyes. He knew that if he picked it up, I'd cut him down without hesitation. My body came from a military family. I had a soldier's foundation. He had nothing. His friends egged him on. Pick it up. You're the little tyrant. But he just stood there, face white, fists shaking. He didn't pick up the sword. He glared at me, made a throat-slitting gesture, and snarled. I'll remember this. Then he turned to the princess and Shun Hongxiu, bowed through clenched teeth, and forced out an apology. I was wrong. I'm sorry. He limped away with his battered crew. The crowd showered him with mockery. Some tyrant. Just a bully who folds when someone fights back. Only tough because Daddy's the prime minister. As he disappeared around the corner, I caught him, muttering to one of his guys about someone called Old Emo, apparently a famous assassin who fished on the river by day and killed people by night. He wanted me dead before morning. The princess and Shun Hongxiu exchanged glances, both stunned. The untouchable prime minister's son had just been forced to apologize by a homeless ex-heir with nothing to his name. How had I pulled that off? Honestly, I wasn't entirely sure myself. But one thing I knew. Tonight was going to be interesting. After Zhao Zheng ran off, the crowd scattered. Shun Hongxiu came up smiling, impressed that I'd handled the prime minister's son so easily. The princess, on the other hand, kept her cold face, but I caught the worry in her eyes. She warned me that Zhao Zheng wouldn't let this go. He could have me killed overnight. or skip the local courts and go straight to the Ministry of Justice. Once I was locked up, they could pin any charge they wanted on me. I told her not to be ungrateful. If she'd been the one to attack Zhao Zheng, within an hour the whole capital would be buzzing with rumors that the emperor was using his daughter to purge noble families. Me doing it. Just a scuffle between young nobles. No political fallout. She pressed her lips together. She knew I was right. I told them not to worry. If Zhao Zheng was smart, he wouldn't use official channels. That would leave evidence. And even though I was the Qin family's reject, I'd once been their heir. If it went through proper courts, the Qin family would have to get involved whether they wanted to or not. Before leaving, I asked Shen Hongxiu to pass a message to the prince. I wanted to use the favor he owed me to get Magistrate Wang Jian promoted to full county magistrate. Both women stared at me like I was insane. The prince's favor was basically a get-out-of-death-free card. If Zhao Zheng ever cornered me, that favor could save my life. And I was blowing it on someone else's career? The princess muttered something about me being brain-damaged. But Shen Hongxiu smiled and said she found it charming. A man who knew his place had a certain appeal. Then they both decided they weren't going to waste the prince's favor on Wang Jian's promotion. Instead, they'd make me the county magistrate. That ought to keep him busy, they agreed, grinning. I sneezed several times walking into the restaurant. Someone was definitely plotting against me. Meanwhile, Zhao Zheng went straight to a brothel and hired a famous assassin called Old Mo, a fisherman by day, killer by night. 10,000 taels. He wanted my head delivered tonight to use as a chamber pot. Back at my house, the old man I'd taken in, the one I still didn't know was the emperor, was sitting by the stove watching his eunuch struggle to brew medicine. He was barking orders and complaining that the old servant was more useless than me. His military commander brought him a secret report about everything I'd done today. The emperor read it and actually seemed pleased. The kid's got guts. Took on the Qin family, then fought Zhao Zheng. Not bad. Then his mood darkened. He said Zhao Zheng had publicly harassed his daughter. Unforgivable. Send an order to Prime Minister Zhao Qua. Tell him to personally oversee the execution of his own son. His two men hit the floor in terror. The commander begged him to reconsider. Killing Zhao Zheng would provoke the prime minister into unleashing chaos across the country. His faction controlled too many powerful families. The emperor crouched down nose to nose with his commander. Do I look like a man who's afraid of chaos? The commander kept his head down, thinking, Your Majesty, things have changed in 3 years. You used to control the entire military. Now you've only got the palace guard and the secret police. The emperor sighed and stood up. Fine. You're right. I've been sick too long. Things have slipped. Cancel the original plan. I'll think of something new. He'd originally planned a final strike before dying, wiping out the prime minister and all the corrupt officials to clear the path for the prince's succession. But now that his health was improving, he could afford to take his time. But tell Zhao Qua to break both his son's hands. If I weren't sick, I wouldn't even waste words on trash like that. Then he made 2 more decisions. First, he agreed with the princess and Shen Hongxiu's idea. Make me the county magistrate of South City. Second, give me a deadline. Half a month. Before the foreign diplomatic envoy arrived, I had to solve the entire refugee and beggar crisis in the capital. If he fails and embarrasses our nation in front of the Yin Kingdom's princess, I want his head. Of course, he wasn't actually going to kill me, but scaring me? That he could definitely do. While I was out eating dinner with my crew, the old man I'd taken in was making himself right at home. He sat by the stove in my kitchen, wrapped in an expensive fur cloak, bossing around his old servant who was fumbling with brewing medicine. You've been serving people your whole life, and you can't even boil herbs? Useless. That brat Tang and is more useful than you. The servant looked like he was about to cry. Nearby, a tough-looking military guy watched the two of them bicker in my house and wondered how his life had come to this. The old man asked for the latest intelligence report on me. The military guy handed over a sealed letter. After reading it, the old man raised his eyebrows, actually impressed. Well, the kid's got some fire in him. Took on the Qin family, and then picked a fight with Zhao Zheng? Not bad at all. The military man thought this was insane. I was a nobody who'd just made an enemy of the most dangerous family in the capital. But the old man didn't care about that. He was furious that Zhao Zheng had publicly harassed his daughter. Issue my decree. Order Zhao Qua to personally execute his own son. Both servants slammed to the floor in terror. The military guy frantically explained that killing Zhao Zheng would trigger the prime minister into unleashing his network of powerful families across the country. Civil war. The old man crouched right in his face. Do I look like someone who's afraid of chaos? The military man kept his head down, thinking, Sir, things aren't what they used to be. 3 years ago you controlled the entire army. Now, after being sick so long, all you really have is the palace guard and the secret police. The old man sighed and stood up. Fine. You're right. I've fallen behind. Cancel the original plan. I'll come up with something new. Apparently, he'd been planning a final all-or-nothing strike against the prime minister and several other corrupt officials before dying, clearing the path for his son to take over safely. But since his health was improving now, there was no rush. He could play the long game instead. But tell Zhao Kuo to break both his son's hands. If I weren't sick, I wouldn't even bother talking. That trash would already be dead. Then he issued 2 more orders. First, he agreed with a suggestion from the princess. Make me the county magistrate of South City. The idea of watching me suffer under official duties apparently delighted him. Second, he gave me a deadline, half a month, before some foreign diplomatic mission arrived. I had to completely solve the capital's refugee and beggar crisis. If he fails and embarrasses us in front of the Yin Kingdom's princess, I want his head. He wasn't actually going to kill me, of course, but making me sweat? That was half the fun for this crazy old man. While I was out having dinner, that crazy old man nearly burned my house down. When I got back with Tiger Girl and the crew, thick smoke was pouring out of my brand new kitchen. I nearly had a heart attack. Old man, what the hell did you do? We charged inside and found him standing there with a water ladle, slowly scooping water from a bucket and sprinkling it on the flames, like he was watering flowers in a garden. His hair was a mess and his face was covered in soot, but his expensive silk clothes didn't have a single stain on them. This man was not trying to put out a fire. He was performing. I cursed him out and grabbed a whole bucket, dumping it straight into the kitchen. But the fire was too big. 1 bucket barely made a dent. Tiger Girl, I'll bow, and everyone else grabbed water and joined in. After about 15 buckets, the fire was finally out. My kitchen was nothing but a charred skeleton. I grabbed the old man by his collar, teeth clenched. You were supposed to be brewing medicine, but I'm pretty damn sure you did this on purpose. He didn't even flinch. You're right. Drop the pretty sure part. I wanted to burn your house. Then he pulled out a thick stack of banknotes from inside his robe and started slapping them against my chest one by one, looking smug as hell. It's just a kitchen. So what if I burned it? You tell me. Can I burn it or can't I? I looked down at the bills falling to the ground. Every single one was a 1,000-tael note. He had maybe 20 or 30 of them. That was more money than most people would see in 10 lifetimes. No wonder this old bastard was so arrogant. He was loaded. Tiger Girl, Rower, I'll bow. Everyone was staring with their mouths open. They'd spent their whole lives begging for copper coins, and this guy was using banknotes like napkins. My whole attitude changed instantly. I let go of his collar, carefully smoothed out his wrinkled clothes, and smiled my warmest smile. Old sir, you burned it beautifully. Magnificent, even. I've always believed in respecting my elders. It's a core value of mine. Would you like to burn something else? I'll light the fire for you. I took the banknotes from the old man one by one, grinning the whole time. Money talks. You want to burn my kitchen? Go ahead. Burn the whole house if you want. I'll just buy a bigger one. He got cocky immediately, slapping my chest and barking demands. Do I have to brew my own medicine? Rower, set up the stove. Brew his medicine. Do I have to clean my own room? Absolutely not. I'll bow. You're on old man duty from now on. Every demand he made, I agreed with a smile and assigned someone immediately. He was loving it, puffing up like a peacock with every order. Then he ran out of banknotes. I handed the whole stack, 20,000 taels, to Rower and rubbed my hands together. Got any more? No. I smacked the back of his head. He stumbled forward, almost face-planting. You dare hit me? He was shaking with rage. Of course I dare. No more money, no more attitude. I poked his chest. Old man, you're not being honest. That 20,000 was already mine, the rent and medical fees we agreed on. You just used my money to act rich in front of me. And don't forget, you still have the anemia problem that needs treatment. Something flickered in his eyes. He realized I was probing his identity, the expensive clothes, the battle scars, the ridiculous amount of cash. He quickly made up a name for himself. White Sanyi. Former traveling merchant. Got my injuries fighting bandits on trade routes. White Sanyi. What kind of garbage fake name was that? He didn't even try. This old man was full of lies and had a bizarre grudge against me for no reason I could figure out. Nothing in the original Tang and's memories matched him. I'd have to investigate later. I moved on to his medical condition. Your doctors said your blood-making ability is broken and there's no cure? That's nonsense. They just never met me. I explained there were two approaches. Slow treatment with medicinal food over time. Or something faster, blood transfusion. I told him blood comes in 4 types, and people with matching types can share blood safely. Everyone stared at me like I'd grown a second head. The old man, Tiger Girl, Rower, none of them had ever heard of such a thing. The old man jumped up like I'd insulted his ancestors. Absolutely not. You want to put someone else's blood in me? Dream on. His reaction was way too intense for a normal person. He was acting like mixing blood with a commoner was beneath him. Weird. I looked at his disgusted face and my own mood soured. It was just an example. You lunatic. Fine, go die then. I walked off. Meanwhile, back at the Qin mansion, things were heating up. Sidong came home from military duty and found the mother crying. When she heard Qin Rue had been beaten bloody at the courthouse, she was furious and ready to storm over to my place immediately. But Qin Rue, even lying face down on a bed soaked with his own blood, kept up his performance. He tumbled off the bed onto the floor, begging Sitong not to go. Sister, don't. It's not brother's fault. I deserved it. And he's connected to the crown prince now. If you touch him, it could hurt you and the whole family. The Marquis was fuming, calling me an ungrateful animal. Sinan confirmed the courthouse story with a small nod, though I could tell something was starting to bother her. Sitong was shaking with rage, but held back, because her precious Qin Rue asked her to. Even beaten half to death, that snake never stopped manipulating. Back at the Qin mansion, Qin Rue was playing his best role yet, the beaten, forgiving brother. Everyone was fawning over him, but nobody noticed the vicious look hiding behind his lowered eyes. He didn't want Sitong to just go beat me up. That was too easy. His real plan was to lure me back to the mansion and lock me up permanently. Once trapped inside, even the crown prince's protection wouldn't matter. He could slowly destroy me at his leisure. He nudged things perfectly. The Marquis decided Sitong would go tomorrow and tell me grandmother was deathly ill to trick me into coming home. Once I walked through that door, I'd never walk out again. Sinan tried to defend me, saying I'd always been wild but could be taught. Sitong just cracked her knuckles. Qin Rue played peacemaker from his bed, saying my beating was worth it if it brought me home. Sitong smacked the back of his head for being too forgiving. Behind everyone's backs, Qin Rue smiled. Everything was going exactly as planned. That night, I gathered everyone around a bonfire in my yard. A whole lamb was roasting, dripping fat into the flames. I told my crew I wanted to talk about their futures, not just use them as muscle, but actually help them build real lives. Business, military, civil service exams, whatever they wanted, I'd teach them and support them. Tiger Girl gave me a lazy look. The boys were genuinely moved. The old man in his rocking chair just snorted from the corner, clearly unimpressed. Then I mentioned the real reason for tonight's gathering. I beat up Xiaozheng today. He's the type who gets revenge the same night. Someone's probably coming to kill me tonight. Everyone deflated. So much for the touching speech. I just wanted bodyguards again. Then we heard it. A mournful 2-string fiddle playing from somewhere outside, getting closer. The melody was haunting, desolate, like funeral music. Tiger Girl shot to her feet, face deadly serious. What is it? I asked. Old Mo's funeral song. He plays it before every kill. It's his way of saying he's already sent you to the grave. Old Mo was apparently one of the most feared assassins in the capital, ranked just below the top 4 killers. Tiger Girl pulled me behind her and told everyone to prepare to run. If the rumors about him were true, she could only last about 50 moves against him. My heart sank. If even Tiger Girl was outmatched, we were in serious trouble. I made a mental note. I needed to start making gunpowder and explosives as soon as possible. Without my martial arts fully developed, I had nothing to fall back on. The fiddle music stopped abruptly. Everyone tensed up. Tiger Girl went into fighting stance. Rower pressed against my side. Every nerve in my body was on fire. The only person who didn't seem to care at all was that crazy old man, still lounging in his chair like nothing was happening. We were all on high alert inside the yard, backs pressed together, weapons raised, waiting for old Emo to strike. Minutes dragged by. My arms were getting sore from holding up the stick. The roast lamb we'd been cooking burned to a crisp. And nothing happened. What I didn't know was that old Emo had run into a much bigger problem. About 100 meters from my house, he'd been surrounded by a dozen elite fighters in black, every single one far above his level. If he'd tried to draw his hidden sword, they would have turned him into mincemeat before his hand reached the handle. The leader, some huge guy with a saber, gave him two choices: come quietly or die. Old Emo chose wisely. They knocked him out and dragged him into the darkness without a sound. Back in my yard, Tiger Girl closed her eyes and listened carefully, then opened them looking confused. There's no danger around us, so. Old Emo got lost, I said. Everyone stared at me. Yeah, real funny. A professional assassin playing his death song outside your door doesn't just get lost. Tiger Girl wanted to go scout alone. I stopped her. She was our strongest fighter, and splitting up could be a trap. We'd all go together. If old Emo appeared, she'd hold him off while the rest of us ran. I grabbed the old man from his rocking chair. He'd been lounging there the whole time like nothing was happening. Get up, old man. We could die any minute and you're napping. I pulled him along, keeping him in front of me. He glared at me. He knew I was using him as a human shield. We crept out the front door. The alley was empty, dead silent, just cold wind. Tiger Girl led us toward the main road, and that's when I spotted them. Zhao Zheng and his whole crew of rich kid losers, leaning against their carriages, waiting for my severed head to be delivered. They saw me at the same time, and their jaws dropped. I was supposed to be dead. Where was old Emo? His funeral song had stopped ages ago. He should have finished the job by now. And I was staring right back at them, equally stunned, but for different reasons. Who hires an assassin and then parks 4 carriages right outside the target's house? Were they trying to get caught? Rage took over. Get them. Beat them half to death. I charged with my oversized stick. Tiger Girl, Rower, Ah Bao, everyone, we all swarmed them. Zhao Zheng and his friends had gotten demolished by us just that afternoon. The moment they saw us coming, they panicked and scrambled to climb into their carriages. Run. Go. Zhao Zheng was clawing his way onto a carriage when my stick crashed across his back. He slammed face first into the wagon. I grabbed his ankles and hurled him off. He flew 8 meters and hit the ground hard. How dare you? My father is the prime min. I was already on top of him, fists and feet flying. So what if I hit you? Is hitting you some kind of advanced technology? Your dad's the prime minister? If he was standing right here, I'd beat him too. I pounded him until his face was a swollen purple mess, and he was spitting blood. His friends got the same treatment from my crew, screaming, crying, crawling. When I'd finally had enough, I grabbed his collar and yanked his battered face close to mine. Where's old Emo? He played his little funeral song, and then what? Vanished? Where did he go? Zhao Zheng's eyes were bulging with fury. That was supposed to be his question to me. Zhao Zheng and his buddies were just as confused as me. Old Emo had walked in, played his funeral song, and then vanished. Did the assassin play his own funeral music and send himself off? I punched Zhao Zheng in the face again. I asked you a question. Where's old Emo? You paid for all that dramatic nonsense. So where is he? He whimpered through his smashed nose that he had no idea. Old Emo went in and never came out. He genuinely didn't know what happened. I grabbed his hair and pressed his face into the gravel. How much did you pay to have me killed? 10,000 taels? 10,000. I'm flattered. So here's the deal. If my life is worth 10,000, yours is worth 20,000. Same for every one of your little friends here. Pay up, or none of you leave South City tonight. They all went pale. They'd come here drunk and excited, planning to kick my severed head around like a ball. Now I was threatening to kick theirs. Zhao Zheng sputtered about his father being the prime minister and his friends coming from families of 5th-rank officials at minimum. I'd be a dead man if I touched any of them. Tiger Girl, Rower, and the boys all looked at me nervously. These weren't random thugs. They were powerful people's children. Killing even one would bring an avalanche. I paused, then slapped Zhao Zheng's cheek playfully. You know what? You're right. I probably shouldn't kill you. How about this instead? 20,000 taels, or I break one of your legs. With the Crown Prince backing me, and you being the ones who hired an assassin first, breaking a few legs should be fine legally. I grabbed his foot and started bending it toward his knee. He panicked instantly. Money. I'll pay. I don't have that much on me right now, but no problem. We'll do IOUs. I sent out Bao to grab paper and ink. Then I personally wrote out detailed IOUs for every single one of them, each note spelling out exactly how they'd hired an assassin to kill me. If they didn't pay up, I'd take the IOUs to court. Attempted murder was a capital crime. Even with their powerful families, that kind of public scandal would destroy them. Line up, boys. Sign your papers. It's late, and we're all tired. Get this done, and you can go home to mommy. They were grinding their teeth so hard I thought they'd crack. They'd spent money to buy my death, and now they were paying even more to buy their own survival. The humiliation was beyond anything they'd ever experienced. But they signed, every last one of them. Then I confiscated their fancy carriages too, called it interest on the debt. Zhao Zheng screamed that they lived clear across the city and had no way to get home. I generously left them one carriage. Just one. Boys, load up our new rides. Let's go home. Tiger Girl and the crew were ecstatic. We'd come out expecting a life-or-death fight and walked away with tens of thousands in IOUs and 3 luxury carriages. What none of us knew was that the old man had been watching the whole thing from a wall corner nearby. He was grinding his teeth so hard his jaw hurt, torn between wanting to kick me across the street and grudging admiration. The courage, the decisiveness, the cunning. This was exactly the kind of person he'd been waiting over a decade for. And apparently I'd spent those years pretending to be useless while he wasted away waiting. He was not happy about that. Zhao Zheng and his friends limped away in their one remaining carriage, crammed together like sardines, bumping into each other's wounds with every pothole. They cursed my name the entire ride home. 2 hours later, Zhao Zheng stumbled into the Prime Minister's mansion looking like a completely different person, his face so swollen you couldn't even recognize him. The old butler nearly had a heart attack and ran screaming through the house. His father, Prime Minister Zhao Qua, came out looking composed and scholarly. When he saw Zhao Zheng's face, his expression darkened. His son getting roughed up happened occasionally, but this level of destruction was a first. Beating Zhao Zheng was the same as slapping Zhao Qua across the face. Zhao Zheng mumbled my name. His father didn't even know who I was at first, just some cast-off from the Qin family. He immediately ordered the city defense force to go deal with me. Just a nobody, easy to crush. But before the order could leave the room, the emperor's old eunuch walked in carrying a decree. The emperor has a message for the prime minister. I'm sick, not dead. If you're tired of living, I can arrange for your entire family to be executed. If you'd prefer to keep breathing, break your son's hands. And if your stupid, worthless boy ever goes after my daughter again, I won't kill him. I'll bring him into the palace to serve me personally. His new name will be Zhao Wuji, literally, Zhao no balls. The emperor was threatening to make him a eunuch. Zhao Zheng nearly wet himself on the spot. The prime minister knelt and accepted the decree, face like granite. After the eunuch left, Zhao Qua picked up a chair and smashed it across his son's arm. The bone snapped. Zhao Zheng collapsed screaming. Then his father stood over him and smiled. Pursuing a beautiful princess, what's wrong with that? Do whatever you want. When things go wrong, we old men will clean up the mess. He said it casually, but I could tell from the story later. This man was terrifying. He knew the emperor was dying and was playing a long game. Every outrage that made the emperor angry was actually good for their side. It weakened him faster. Then he ordered his people to investigate me thoroughly. Apparently, the prime minister had been present years ago when the Taoist master made his prophecy about the Qin family producing a great talent. He'd been watching Qin Rue, but now he wondered if the prophecy was actually about me. If so, he'd make sure I didn't survive long enough to fulfill it. I knew nothing about any of this. I'd been up since 3 in the morning, practicing martial arts in the yard. The more I trained with that secret manual from the stone table, the more incredible it felt. After half a night of practice, I wasn't even tired. If anything, I felt stronger. Then Rower came running in, panicking. Young master. The Qin family sent word. The old madam is seriously ill. She might not make it. I squinted. Right on schedule. They were using grandmother to lure me back. My face changed the moment I heard the news. I had zero love for the Qin family, but there were 2 people I still cared about, grandmother and my little sister Tang Xin. When everyone else had turned against the original Tang Yin, grandmother was the one who went on a hunger strike for 2 days to force the Marquis to stop punishing him. She'd been secretly sending money and clothes during his 6 months on the streets, though Qin Rue's people always intercepted them. And little Xin, only 5 years old, had actually snuck into Qin Rue's room one night and nearly bashed his skull in with a stick. Those two were the original Tang and's team. His ride or dies. Rower, get Ah Bao to prepare a carriage. We're going to the Qin mansion. I knew it could be a trap. The family was desperate to drag me back. But what if it wasn't? The real Tang and had left this world full of regrets. I couldn't let grandmother leave the same way. Even if it was a tiger's den, I had to go. Half an hour later, I jumped off the carriage at the Qin family's gate and sprinted inside. The doorman knew my face and didn't dare stop me. Grandma, Grandma, I shoved open her courtyard door and rushed in. Your unfilial grandson is back. Are you okay? What's wrong? Something crashed inside the room. Then the door flew open and out came a hunched old woman with a cane, supported by a maid, moving way faster than any sick person should. I grabbed her hands and started checking her. Pulse, temperature, heart rate. Everything was strong and normal. Wait, Grandma, you're fine. Your pulse is solid. Heart rate normal. Blood pressure good. You're not sick at all. Who said you were sick? The old woman's eyes filled with tears, looking at me. Her grandson was back. Taller, but so thin he looked like a bamboo stick. She could only imagine what he'd suffered. You finally came to see your grandmother. Her hand reached for my face, trembling with emotion. Then at the last second, she cranked up the force and slapped me hard across the cheek. You little brat. You actually had the nerve to come back? You think you're so tough? So independent? Why come back at all? To watch me die? She raised her cane and started whacking me. I took off running around the courtyard with her chasing me, raining blows on my back and shoulders. Tiger Girl and Rower stood at the gate, jaws on the floor. This was the deathly ill old woman. Her swings were smooth and powerful. She moved better than most healthy people. I dodged behind the stone table, pointing at her from across it. Grandma, you're going too far. If you missed me, just send a message. I'd have come running. You can't fake being sick to trick me back. What if you jinx yourself? She paused, then muttered. If I'd known faking sick would bring you home, I should have done it months ago. I groaned. So this was a trap to get me back? Right on cue. The Marquis' voice boomed from the doorway. Trap? You have the nerve to complain? Should we have left you out there embarrassing yourself forever? I looked up and saw the whole Qin family filing in through the gate. The mother and Sinan wore forced smiles. The Marquis and Sitong looked cold as usual. Qin Rue was lying on a stretcher, acting excited to see me. But the person who caught my eye was the little girl trailing behind them, a 5-year-old doll-faced beauty in a green dress. She spotted me, rubbed her eyes hard to make sure she wasn't dreaming, then screamed. It's my big brother. It's really him, little Cine, my baby sister. She was the Marquis' daughter by a concubine, but she and the original Tang and had been inseparable. She sprinted at me on her tiny legs. I crouched down and opened my arms. She crashed into me so hard I almost toppled over, threw her little arms around my neck, and burst into the most heartbreaking sobbing I'd ever heard. You're mean? You lied to Inin. I'm not talking to you anymore. Then, in the tiniest voice, terrified I'd actually leave again, I'm only not talking to you for a little while. My heart melted completely. I rubbed her head and promised I'd come whenever she called. She immediately perked up, tears still on her cheeks, but already grinning like she'd won a negotiation. Really? Pinky promise. Liars are puppies. I hooked my little finger around hers and bumped my forehead against hers. She giggled and squealed. The mother covered her mouth, eyes wet. Sinan's eyes went red. Sidong looked away. He used to play with them like this too, and now he treated them like enemies. They couldn't understand why. Grandmother watched us, wiping her eyes. Then she turned to the Marquis, voice hard as iron. Today I just want a quiet meal with my grandson. Nothing else. Take your wife and children and leave. This place is too small for so many gods. The Marquis' face flushed. He knew she was mocking him for using her fake illness to trap me. But he pushed forward anyway. Mother, I did it for the family's honor. This boy's heart is too wild. I brought him back because I've arranged a marriage for him. Get him a wife. Give him a child. That'll settle him down and stop him from embarrassing us. The mother chimed in sweetly, telling me my new fiancée was the daughter of a minor noble family. Wei Linger, supposedly beautiful and well-mannered. I licked my lips and cut her off. I'm not marrying anyone. Marriage? They wanted to chain me up in the Qin family's backyard like a dog. Absolutely not. The Marquis snorted. You don't get a say. Marriage is decided by parents. The wedding is in 1 month. You're marrying her whether you like it or not. I gave the Marquis a thumbs up with my most mocking smile. Must marry, no choice? How intimidating. I'm shaking. I set little Sean down, patted her head, and looked the Marquis and his wife dead in the eye. Parents' orders? Matchmaker's word? You two really love giving yourselves credit you don't deserve. My surname is Tang, not Sheen. What authority do you have over my life? You're the ones who went to the Emperor and officially declared I wasn't your son. You kicked me off the family register. Legally, we're strangers. That shut them both up. They'd done exactly that to clear the way for Qin Rue's inheritance. By their own doing, they had zero legal claim over me. Qin Rue saw his opening. He dragged himself off his stretcher and limped toward me, face full of fake concern. Brother, how can you speak to our parents like that? They raised you for 18 years. In their hearts, you're still their son. Just come home, get married. Let's all be a happy family. My skin crawled. Half dead and still performing. I kicked him in the chest. He flew 5 meters and hit the ground screaming. The whole family rushed to his side. Sitong snapped. She'd been holding back rage for days, and this was the last straw. She lunged at me like a missile. Yesterday's beating wasn't enough? I'll break your legs this time. I watched her coming and felt something cold settle inside me. There was no reasoning with these people. Fine, fist it would be. I waved Tiger Girl off. This was my fight. In the past few days, that mysterious martial arts manual from the stone table had been doing something incredible to my body. My internal energy was growing at an insane rate. A few more months, and I'd be one of the best fighters in the capital. I channeled my chi and threw everything into one punch. Sitong was completely confident. She'd always been stronger than me. She figured one palm strike would shatter my arm and put me on bed rest for months. Problem solved. Her palm met my fist. The impact sent her flying. Not stumbling, flying. She sailed back 10 meters and crashed to the ground hard. Blood sprayed from her mouth the moment she landed. She looked up at me, still frozen in my punching stance, and for the first time I saw genuine shock and fear on her face. The Marquis went rigid. The mother's mouth fell open. Sinan couldn't process what she'd just seen. Qin Rue forgot to act. His eyes were bulging like a bull's. He'd deliberately provoked me knowing Sitong would attack. He wanted her to seriously hurt me. Instead, I'd sent her flying with one punch. Grandmother's cane clattered to the floor. The 60-year-old woman covered her mouth like a teenage girl seeing something impossible. Her useless, bookworm-hating grandson had just overpowered a trained warrior. Rower and Little Sean looked at me with pure worship. Even Tiger Girl's eyes narrowed. She was genuinely stunned. Just days ago, I'd barely managed to channel chi for the first time. Now I was knocking out martial artists with a single blow? She was starting to wonder if I really was some kind of once-in-a-generation martial arts prodigy. The whole yard went dead silent after I sent Sitong flying. The Marquis was the first to speak, his voice cracking. You know martial arts? He couldn't believe it. His whole plan had been to bring Qin Rue back and push him through the civil service exams because the family needed a male heir on the scholarly path. Sitong was a fighter but couldn't inherit as a woman. And now the useless son he'd thrown away turned out to be a warrior? I flicked my hair back casually. Martial arts? Nothing special. If you people hadn't pushed me to my limit, I could have kept training in secret and maybe become the best fighter in the country. But you ruined my plans. The Marquis was shaking. Why didn't you tell us? I shrugged innocently. Sorry. I was trying to get strong quietly and surprise everyone. Guess it turned into a shock instead. I pointed my thumb at myself. Let me be clear. I, Tangin, am talented in both writing and fighting. The useless punk you knew? That was all an act. And from now on, I'm done pretending. Everyone's jaw hit the floor. The whole family was processing the impossible. The boy who couldn't read was actually a genius who'd been hiding his abilities? Qin Rue completely lost his composure. That's impossible, he shrieked before catching himself and forcing a smile. I mean, brother, if you're so talented, why hide it? You could have brought glory to our family. I made up an excuse on the spot. Something about how a tree that stands too tall gets cut down by the wind. If I'd shown my real abilities, powerful enemies would have targeted me. But the Qin family took it completely differently than I intended. They all went pale. Apparently, there was some old prophecy about the family that I knew nothing about, and they thought I'd been hiding my talent to protect myself from people who knew about it. Grandmother started crying, hugging me. saying how brave I was to carry such a burden alone. I had no idea what they were talking about, but I played along. I told grandmother I'd visit often, but I had things to do today. Then I looked at the Marquis, smile turning cold. If you ever use grandmother's health as bait again, I'll end you. You're not my real father anyway. Hitting you is guilt-free. And that marriage? Whoever wants to marry that girl can have her. Not me. The Marquis finally snapped. He called in a dozen guards and ordered them to drag me to my old room and break my legs if I resisted. Grandmother jumped in front of me. You dare? Am I dead to you? Little Scene planted herself beside me too, hands on her hips, glaring at her father. Don't you touch my big brother. I pulled grandmother behind me and stared the Marquis down. You want to fight? Fine. Let's fight. Someone's bleeding today because you clearly don't take my words seriously. Roker tossed me a carrying pole. She grabbed a broom. Tiger Girl yawned and strolled to my side. The Marquis was grinding his teeth. His family could see it in my eyes. If they tried to grab me, I would genuinely hurt people. Qin Rue was practically vibrating with excitement on his stretcher. Another family war he'd orchestrated from the sidelines. Then a shrill voice rang out from the gate. Imperial decree. Everyone froze. An ancient white-haired eunuch walked in, flanked by Imperial guards, holding a scroll sealed with the Emperor's mark. It was Eunuch's son, the Emperor's personal chief eunuch. When this man delivered a decree personally, it meant something enormous was happening. The Marquis rushed to greet him, but the old eunuch walked right past him without a glance. He stopped in front of me, smiled, and said, Mr. Tang, you're a hard man to find. His Majesty has a decree for you. Please receive it. Everyone froze. The imperial decree wasn't for the Qin family. It was for me. I pointed at myself. For me? Are you sure you've got the right person? The old eunuch nodded. Quite sure. I just came from your house looking for you. I had zero idea why the Emperor would even know my name, but I knelt anyway. Refusing an imperial decree meant losing your head. The eunuch unrolled the scroll and read, Tang In, former heir of the Yangon Marquis household, is hereby appointed County Magistrate of South City, effective immediately. He is ordered to resolve the refugee crisis and the beggar problem within half a month. Failure to complete this task will result in execution. I nearly jumped out of my skin. County Magistrate. That was the position I'd been trying to get for Wang Jian. This had Shun Hongxiu and the princess written all over it. Those two had hijacked my request and stuck me with the job instead. And half a month to fix a crisis that the entire government couldn't solve? There were 40 to 50,000 refugees outside the city walls and at least 10,000 beggars inside. That was 70 or 80,000 people total. The top ministers had been passing this problem around like a hot potato for months. Was the Emperor trying to kill me? The eunuch handed me the scroll with a smile that felt way too satisfied. Something told me I'd just fallen into a very deep hole. Your new office is ready. Please begin your duties at once. He left with his guards. I stared after him, feeling like I'd been set up in ways I couldn't even begin to understand. Grandmother rushed over, worried sick. Have you met the Emperor? Why would he give you such an impossible task? If you don't want to do it, I'll go to the palace myself and beg him to take it back. Warmth spread through my chest. This old woman would really fight the Emperor for me. I smiled and shook my head. Don't worry, Grandma. I can handle it. I knelt down and rubbed little Cian's head. Be good. Listen to your mother. Ignore everyone else. They'll corrupt you. The Qin family shifted uncomfortably at that. We did our pinky promise again. Then I walked over to Qin Rue. Sinan immediately jumped in front of him, shaking her head. He's already hurt. Don't. Relax, Miss Qin. I won't touch your precious treasure. I held up the imperial decree and waved it in Qin Rue's face. Hey, little lotus flower. I'm a county magistrate now. The status you've been scheming and studying to earn? I got it handed to me for free. How's that feel? Listen carefully. From now on, whatever you want, whatever you're reaching for, I'm going to take it first. I'll show this family that their golden boy is nothing compared to me. I wasn't just smiling. I was radiating the kind of killing intent I developed on battlefields in my past life. Qin Rue went white as paper. For a moment, he couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even perform. He looked like he believed that if he twitched, I'd crush his throat. The Marquis was sputtering behind me, nearly exploding. I didn't look back. I walked out with Rower and Tiger Girl without a single glance at any of them. Qin Rue recovered and immediately went back to his act. Don't be angry, father. Brother didn't mean it. We did ignore him for 6 months. We're partly to blame. The Marquis was so furious he could have spontaneously combusted. He ordered the Wei family to proceed with the wedding in 1 month. Even if we have to tie him up and drag him back, he's getting married. Grandmother watched it all quietly. Her eyes drifted to Qin Rue, and a vein pulsed in her temple. The boy's manipulation was so obvious, blatant divide and conquer. Yet everyone in this family swallowed it whole. What kind of spell had Qin Rue cast on them to make them all this stupid? Half an hour later, my carriage pulled up at the South City courthouse. I stepped down and stared at the familiar building, suddenly losing all my bravado. I'd gotten this position by accidentally stealing it from Wang Jian, the guy I'd promised to help. Tiger Girl bumped my shoulder. Feeling guilty about taking his job? Think he'll beat you up? I swallowed hard. He's a civilized man. Should be fine, right? Civilized men are the scariest, she said. When they snap, they scare even themselves. Then Wang Jian came marching out with his whole staff. I braced for the worst. Listen, old Wang, I'm a victim here too. I never wanted. He grabbed my hand, eyes shining with excitement. Sir, say no more. I understand completely. I blinked. He wasn't angry? Tiger Girl and Rower looked just as confused. Turns out, the prince had personally met with Wang Jian the night before and offered him a promotion to the Ministry of Finance after the refugee crisis was resolved. He was thrilled. I pulled him aside and gave him honest advice. Don't take that ministry job. Going from small-town clerk to a ministry position sounds great, but you'll get labeled as the prince's man immediately. That ministry is full of factions. They'll eat you alive. Stay here as county magistrate after I leave. Build real accomplishments first. That's how you climb without getting crushed. Wang Jian squeezed my shoulder. For that kind of honesty alone, you've got a friend for life. Then he leaned in and whispered, By the way, Princess Yunyang is inside. She's been waiting for you. And she looks angry. My blood ran cold. Why is she everywhere? Wang Jian explained she had the prince's authorization to assist me with the refugee problem. He warned me she seemed to have some personal grudge against me. If only he knew. I walked into the main hall. There sat the princess and Shen Hongxiu, waiting like two cats who'd cornered a mouse. Shen Hongxiu greeted me with her usual flirty smile. I backed away and pointed at her accusingly. I told you to give that county magistrate position to Wang Jian. How did I end up with it? She laughed and pointed at the princess. Don't blame me. She's the one who told the prince, who told the emperor. Nothing to do with me. I looked at the princess. She sipped her tea without a hint of warmth. This is just the beginning. Watching you suffer makes me feel better. I clenched my jaw. What exactly did I do to offend you, Your Highness? Rower glanced between us. She knew perfectly well what had happened. The princess had taken my virginity. But that wasn't exactly something you could fix. You couldn't exactly put things back the way they were. The princess stared at me with icy eyes. Offend me? You're not worthy. I'm the one who offended you. But I don't care enough to make it right. I simply don't like looking at you. My mind flashed back to that night. Her on top of me, blindfolded, completely powerless. The humiliation still burned. She noticed my expression and her lips curled into a knowing smirk. She was clearly remembering the same thing. Me screaming at first that I wasn't that kind of person, then. Well, damn it. The shame. She set down her teacup. You have half a month to solve the refugee and beggar crisis. Succeed, and you get to keep breathing. Fail, and I'll personally escort you to the executioner. I glared at the princess. This woman was basically trying to murder her own. Never mind. Don't worry, Your Highness. You won't get that chance, I snorted. Refugees, beggars, it all comes down to 2 words, disaster relief. And disaster relief? Child's play for me, she scoffed. Confidence is fine. Blind confidence just gets you killed faster. Shen Hongxiu looked between us with suspicious eyes. We were going at each other's throats, but somehow it felt more like flirting than fighting. I could tell she was getting ideas. Then Shen Hongxiu dropped the real bombshell. She'd already checked the county's finances before I arrived. South City's treasury had only 20,000 taels. The grain warehouse held barely 1,000 loads. That was nothing, not enough to feed the refugees thin porridge for more than a few days. I turned to Wang Jian. What happened? Autumn taxes just came in, he pointed upward. The previous county magistrate took most of it when he got promoted to the capital's administrative office. The people above him split the rest. I exploded. The previous magistrate had basically looted the county clean before leaving. And now I was supposed to solve a crisis with an empty piggy bank. The princess looked at me with disappointment, probably expecting some brilliant strategy. Instead, she got me cursing. Of course, getting that money back matters, I snapped at her. Having grain means having peace of mind. I asked Wang Jian about grain prices in the capital. His face went dark. 120 copper coins per pound. Normal price is 10, 12 times the normal price. A regular family working a full month couldn't even afford 2 pounds of rice. With no money, no grain, and prices through the roof, standard relief methods were useless. I paced the hall, thinking hard. Then it clicked. Old Wang, tomorrow I'm holding a meeting at the courthouse. Invite every grain merchant in South City, plus merchants from the other 3 districts. I need to talk to them. Also, compile a complete list of all government-owned properties in South City, old buildings, warehouses, official residences, anything run down. Give me detailed numbers. Everyone looked confused. Grain merchants? Old buildings? What did any of that have to do with saving refugees? I didn't explain. I'm going outside the city walls to survey the refugee situation firsthand. We'll talk details after tomorrow's meeting. I left before anyone could ask more questions. The princess was probably fuming behind me. Shun Hongxiu told her my plan was likely to force merchants to lower prices using my authority. The princess dismissed it. Even the emperor couldn't control grain prices in this political climate. So what could a tiny county magistrate do? As for the old buildings survey, neither of them could figure that one out. The princess ordered Wang Jian to add her name to the merchant invitations. My title alone probably wouldn't attract many important traders. Outside, I pulled Ah Bao into a corner and whispered instructions. His eyes went wide. Really? We're doing that? Exactly like I said. Take your team. I pressed 3,000 taels into his palm. This is your operating fund. Move fast. He stared at the money, more than he'd ever seen in his life. Enough to live comfortably forever. And I was trusting him with it completely. He thumped his fist against his chest. I'll get it done or die trying. No dying, I said firmly. Use our old beggar connections. That's why this works. If things go wrong, abort and come back safe. I've got plenty of backup plans. He grinned and took off. Tiger Girl asked what I'd told him. I said I'd just given the boys some spending money to enjoy themselves. She didn't buy it, but I was already climbing into the carriage. Meanwhile, Zhao Zheng, battered and bruised but still scheming, heard about my grain merchant meeting within the hour. He sent the finance minister's son to deliver a warning to every merchant in the city. Anyone who agreed to lower prices for me would have their entire family killed. While I was out surveying the refugee situation, things were happening behind the scenes that I didn't know about yet. At the Crown Prince's palace, the princess and Shun Hongxiu reported my plans to Prince Liangxiu. The princess called me reckless, but the prince disagreed. He thought my moves had a clear structure and that I probably already had a full plan. I just wasn't sharing it. He pointed out exactly why. He doesn't trust you too. You messed with the county magistrate appointment when he specifically asked for it to go to Wang Jian. If you'd sabotage something that small, why would he reveal his real strategy for something as serious as disaster relief? What if you used his own plan against him? The princess pressed her lips together but said nothing.